Good morning, everybody. I've never had an entrance to an AGM quite like that before, and I hope that sets the tone for the meeting. So let's crack on straight away. Can I welcome everybody here? It's good to see such a good turnout for the AGM. I think there's probably 3,800 others out there somewhere, but you're representing them all, so it's good to see you. Big issues for you to discuss today. This is your meeting. NFYFC is run by you, meaty issues. However, I don't want that to mean that this is a stodgy, boring, classic old farmers AGM. I want some life and some spirit, please, and I want it conducted in pace, which means that if you know you've got to be somewhere at a microphone, get there early so that we don't hang around. And in that case, we can be away by, someone asked me to finish by 12 o'clock over there. I'm not sure who's running the sweepstake on how long it'll last, but we'll do our best. Some brief housekeeping notes. First of all, the dreaded mobile telephones. Can I please ask you all to make sure they're turned off? If one does ring, it says here, I am permitted to fine you £10, and that will go to the RABI. In which case, I'll make sure mine's turned off as well. Chris Lloyd, where are you, Chris? Oh, at the back, he will collect the money. There's a certain irony about this next announcement. Some of you will have had practice at this. If there's a fire alarm, it won't be a practice, so you will exit the room by the doors at the back and you'll follow the marshals. Let's hope it does not happen that way, although someone did say to me this morning at breakfast that if I let this thing go on too long, they might just actuate it again. I'm now going to hand over to Hannah Talbot, your chairman, to explain the voting procedures. Mercifully, she's going to do that and not me.
Okay, the voting procedures are fairly straightforward. Can you make sure that you hold your voting card up clearly when you're voting? We will aim to do most business by a show of hands, but if it is close and we need to be more precise, then we will use the number system. Can I just remind you all of the time limits? If you're proposing a motion, you shouldn't exceed 4 minutes. If you're seconding, you shouldn't exceed 2 minutes. And if you're speaking to a motion, you shouldn't exceed 2 minutes. We do not have the dreaded traffic lights this year, but we would really ask you to observe those limits so that we can keep some pace to the meeting. We welcome anybody that wants to speak to a motion today. If you would like to speak to a motion, can you make your way to this lectern? Can you form an orderly queue if there are a number of you who do want to speak? And if you want to speak, if you could kind of come and make your way up a little bit in advance, then that will help to keep things moving. When you speak, please start by stating your name and county federation. And I think that is all that you really need to know.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Now we move on to one of the awards that will be made for the proceedings this morning, or parts of the proceedings this morning, the Sydney Fawcett Trophy. And that's awarded to the YFC member. A member is defined as a member aged between 10 and 26 years of age, making the greatest contribution to the democratic proceedings of the NFYFC AGM. I think the second para is the important one up there behind me, and so just bear that in mind as you're making your contributions, sticking, of course, to the rules that Hannah has just described in terms of time. The judges today are Mr. Julian Sayers and Mrs. Catherine Look. Now, last year I asked them to expose themselves at this point, but I'm going to be more discreet and ask them to reveal themselves by standing up and turning round. Now, those are the people you've got to impress, okay? When you are talking, please talk from the lectern and not the floor. And remember that 2-minute rule. Always, please, state your name and your county federation. Otherwise, whatever brilliance you might enthuse us with, it won't be recorded. And when you're finished, would you please report to Sue Fellows, so that Sue can record the names and your eligibility for the trophy. Sue, please, where are you? There you go. What a glamorous front row we have today. Okay, item 2, apologies for absence. I think the apologies we've received so far are on the screen behind me. I'm not going to go around and ask them to be shouted out now. If there are more apologies, please give them to Chris Lloyd so that they are recorded. It is important that people who are not here and want that to be recorded, that they do so. I'm now going to hand over to Hannah again to introduce the top table so that you know who we all are.
Lovely, thank you, Paul. I'm not very good with left and right, so I'm just going to start from this end, okay? So at the far end of this way, we've got Vicky Hope. Vicky is currently the Vice Chair of Wales YFC. Wales's Chair, Ewan Marion, has had to send his apologies, unfortunately, today, so Vicky will be speaking on his behalf. Next to Vicky, we've got Sioned Davis. Sioned has been chair of the Youth Forum for the past year. Next to Sioned, oh, he's hiding. We have Chris Manley. Oh, no, we don't. We have Nicola. Sorry. I've got a seating plan now. It's like being back at work. Next to Sioned, we have Nicola, and Nicola has been chair of the Personal Development Steering Group. Next to Nicola, we have Chris Manley. Chris is currently Vice Chair of Council in his second year. Next to Chris, Frank Chester. Frank is currently Chair of the NFYFC Board of Management. Next to Frank, needs no introduction really, we have Claire Warden, and Claire is the retiring Chair of NFYFC Council. We have James Eckley, who is the Chief Officer of NFYFC. We have our President and Chair of the meeting today, Mr. Paul Christensen. I'm Hannah Talbot. I've got that bit right. Next to me, we have Jessica Townsend. Jess is Vice Chair of Council. We then have Russ Carrington. Russ is the outgoing Chair of the Agri Steering Group. We have David Maidment, the outgoing Chair of Communication, Events and Marketing. And then we have David Hamer, who is the outgoing Chair of Competitions. And that, young farmers, is your top table.
Thank you. The has-beens are at that end, by the sound of it. Right, appointment, this is item 4 on the agenda, appointment of returning officers, scrutineer and tellers. And I can announce that the returning officer and chief steward is Mr. Chris Lloyd, who's been referred to several times before. Chris does a brilliant job of keeping us all on the straight and narrow. You should have heard the briefing he gave us as we came through that door over there before we started. Scrutineers, Mrs. Anne Sarsfield and Mr. David Fellows. Do you want to stand up?
I need to say something.
And tellers, Mr. John Sarsfield and Mr. David Hemminsley. Yep, thank you.
We just have a few more introductions to make to you, and those are our delegates from other sister young farmer organisations. Unfortunately, we haven't got anyone here from the Scottish Federation because they also have their AGM on this weekend, but we do have from the Young Farmers Clubs of Ulster, Kyle McElwain and Rebecca Orr, and from Macron Firm, which is in Ireland, we have Paddy Delaney and James Healy. And I'd just like to invite Rebecca up to say a few words on behalf of our international delegates.
Thank you very much, Hannah. It's great to be here at your annual convention. On behalf of myself and Kyle from Young Farmers Clubs of Ulster and James and Paddy from Macra and Affirma, we really wish to thank you for your kind invitation to attend your annual convention. It has been a great weekend and it's not over yet. And it's been a real privilege to meet you all and share all the ideals that we have in common. We've had a great time watching your competitions, and I even had a go at the darts for the first time this weekend. So I just wish to say thank you very much for your invitation again, and just to say we look forward to working together in the future, and it's been great to hear about some of your projects, and all the very best to your incoming representatives, to Hannah, Chris and Jess for your hospitality and looking after us so well. And obviously, just to say to the past team, many congratulations on the success of the National Federation And yeah, we look forward to working together in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, and it was a pleasure indeed for me to meet your guests from other parts of the world. It's lovely to see so many of you here, and thank you for coming. Agenda item 5, to confirm the minutes of the AGM held on Sunday the 11th of May 2014. The minutes of that meeting have been circulated. Is it your wish that I sign those as a true record? I like that. I presume you speak on behalf of everybody. This, by the way, is your minutes book. Isn't that impressive? I never saw it. It's like a Bible. So I will now sign this. What's the date today?
26.
And it is 2015, isn't it? Splendid. Yeah, put it away. Yeah, okay, good. Now, at this point in the proceedings, I actually stand down as your president, and I hand over the affairs of this meeting to Hannah Talbot.
Okay, thank you, Paul. We're moving on to the motion from NFYFC Council 6.1, the election of President, and I would like to call upon Danielle McNulty from Gloucestershire to propose the motion, please.
Good morning, Mr. President, Madam Chair, ladies, gentlemen, fellow young farmers and guests. I'm absolutely chuffed to be in front of you all today at my first national AGM to propose the motion that Mr. Paul Christensen be thanked for his services and be duly re-elected President from April 2015 to May 2016. I would like to begin by thanking him for his remarkable contribution over the past year. There has been many moments which his presence has been immensely valuable. In particular for me, he attended our county's AGM. It was a privilege to have him there, enjoying a proper cup of Gloucestershire tea and some homemade cake. So thank you, Paul. I realise the effort he puts in is priceless. True dedication is what he's given young farmers, and he will continue to do so. Attending our rallies, dinner and dances, and still having time to sail off to the shores of Holland with Margaret. I'm sure you are all aware of Paul's passion for the organisation. Speaking to him recently, his enthusiasm was like glue. And that's what Young Farmers does to you. Paul joined the Young Farmers in 1954 and was chairman of his club at the mere age of 12. Inspirational. It dawned on me he must have had fantastic encouragement to take on such a task. During our conversation, it became clear to me that he is enthusiastic to make sure that every single member knows their voice is valid and they know how to use it. This is an area that Paul feels very passionate about, and he most certainly wants to continue to drive the Federation forward, to help individual members realise their abilities and use them. He is extremely keen to promote the Federation and help the public realise we are a proper force to be reckoned with. Our ability to speak up, compete and party, as this weekend just shows. At the moment, Paul is also a member of the BBC Rural Affairs Advisories. An important role he has is also being on the board of membership of the Agricultural Central Trading. And of course, he doesn't stop there. Paul is senior partner of a successful family dairy farming business in Oxford and is a joint founder of the Tenant Farmers Association. His past roles are just as impressive. Chairman of Natural England, Chair of Milkmark, Chair of the Rural Development, and he also has received the Commander of Order of the British Empire in 1991 for his services to British agriculture. That one's my favourite. So I think we can all rest assured he is still the best man for the role of our President, as his years of experience, his knowledge, his passion, and most of all, his approachable nature, we will continue to be the most inspirational youth organisation together. The thought I would like to leave you with is the same thought I had after speaking to him. It's very rare to speak to someone many years older than yourself and engage with them at a core level. Sorry. Have similar values and passions, and that is an amazing message, especially as he is president of such a large and innovative organisation. So without further ado, I would like you all to join with me to support the motion that Mr. Paul Christensen be thanked for his services and be duly re-elected president from April 2015 to May 2016.
Thank you, Danielle. I'd now like to call upon Paige Dolby from Yorkshire to second the motion.
Good morning, Mr. President, Madam Chair, fellow young farmers and guests. Paige Dolby from Yorkshire Federation of Young Farmers. It gives me great pleasure to second the proposal of Mr. Paul Christensen to be re-elected as NFYFC President for his third term. I've been fortunate enough to have met Mr. Paul Christensen several times at NFYFC Council weekends, where his eagerness and compassion about young farmers has really shone through. Paul is a true gentleman who is genuinely interested in the Federation and its members. Paul's friendly personality is very welcoming at council weekends and such events. He's always asking you questions about who you are and what you have done. Paul has even been generous enough to have let me cut in front of him in the lunch queue. Mr. Paul Christensen's passion and knowledge of young farmers and the farming community is a real asset to our federation. I believe we are very lucky to have such a strong, hard-working president who will continue to enjoy helping the development of NFYFC. They say behind every good man is an even better woman. Mrs. Christensen attends many events alongside Paul, and for this, the Federation is continuously grateful to the both of them. I hope you will all join myself and Danielle in supporting the motion of Mr. Paul Christensen being re-elected as NFYFC President.
Thank you, Paige. Is there anybody that wishes to speak to the motion? No? Okay. In that case, then, can I also ask all those in favour that Paul Christensen be re-elected President, can you please raise your cards? I don't think we need to do a count on that one. Thank you very much. It's my absolute pleasure to confirm that the motion has been passed and to welcome Paul back as President for another year.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed for that. I had 10 minutes off as being president there, which was quite a relief. But thank you very much for your very kind and flattering remarks. I'm a bit worried about this age thing. Peter Kendall mentioned it several times yesterday, and Danielle's had another go today. Never mind. I just want to say a few words. This isn't going to... I've got my time limit. First of all, a really genuine thank you for your confidence and your vote this morning. It really is a privilege to do this job. I have been very fortunate in my career, my long career, to have done quite a few fairly high-profile jobs, but this really has, it caps all of them. To be president of an organisation of 25,000 young people who are so energetic and so inspirational gives me enormous pride. And I thank you for the confidence that you have bestowed in me this morning again. Very quickly, I don't want to thank a lot of people because others will be doing that, but I just want to recognise the work by all the other presidents, the club presidents, the county presidents, and so on, throughout the organisation. They work tirelessly and very often are called upon to do things when things are going pear-shaped. So they're there, actually, to hold things together. And I want to thank you for that. And also to thank volunteers. I have watched this convention over the last 48 hours. The glue are all the volunteers that are here to make it work. In fact, our country would fall apart without volunteers, but the NFYFC in particular, I think the volunteers play an enormously important role. It would be wrong not to just refer very quickly to the highlights that I've enjoyed this year. True to say, there isn't a single thing, I don't think, that stands out. But what I really have enjoyed is going around and meeting you guys, meeting members where you work, where you have your meetings, at your county shows or AGMs or dances or whatever it is, meeting people on the ground and talking to you about your aspirations and hopes for the future. That's a real highlight, and not many people get that opportunity. So I thank you for that. And when I do that, of course, I come across a lot of members who aren't here today. They're not even in Torquay. They're the members who come to meetings, but who won't actually ever be a county chairman, a club chairman, a national chairman, but nonetheless are the bedrock of this organisation. And I just think it's important that we recognise those people for the support they give us. Now, we all know that we're in tough times, and I don't just mean us. If you look around the world, if you look at government at the moment, there's an election and we hear all this rubbish about what I won't go there. But we know that it's tough. We know there have been major cutbacks. We hear this word austerity a lot. I don't know why anyone actually uses that word, austerity, in a situation like this. It's about reality, and I'll say a very brief word about that in a moment. And on top of this, of course, NFYFC have got the issue with hops having to change the way it works and the chopping off of that revenue stream, at least in the short term. My judgment, for what it's worth, is that this general issue around finances is going to continue. I forecast that governments will continue to diminish in size. There isn't an appetite anymore for large government, never mind the politics of it. We can't afford it. We can't live beyond our means. And therefore, I think a lot of the support that we've enjoyed from government and from counties and county level and national level, we must look upon as possibly being suspect for the future. And so this means that we are going to have to stand on our own 2 feet. And all that does actually is to mirror what's happening to the farming industry. I welcome that. I think that gives you and us a much stronger position and creates resilience for us. We have later on a resolution about the levy. I'm not going to even talk about that. It would be completely wrong for me to do so. But you have an important choice and decision to make there. But I will talk a little bit about costs, the cost of running the organisation. I look at NFYFC and counties, areas and clubs from a bit of a higher elevation. I have been really impressed by the way you guys have recognised the reality of the situation and are taking forward your own cost-cutting measures, reality checks, if you like. And I think, for example, the work that's being done by the advisory groups, the committees, trying to make them cost neutral, to make themselves cost neutral, is really welcome and I think inspirational to the whole organisation. Hops are reorganising themselves. They're looking at a new business model. They're looking at a new way of operating, and that will take time, but I believe them to be in as good a position as they can be at the moment. Sponsorship and support through our events and marketing team, I think, is extremely important. And I've watched the relationships that we have with our sponsors developing and blossoming. And I'm delighted to see our sponsors here and thank them very much for what they're doing. We must all remember that a sponsorship relationship is a two-way street, and it's about mutual benefit, and we should do all we can to support our sponsors. Just drawing to a close, a few words about the principles of running a business. And I think we really do need to refer to these. We need to be absolutely clear what our purpose as an organisation is. We need clarity around what it is we're trying to achieve. Without that, we can't achieve anything. And then that reality check that I've already referred to. The things cost money, and we need to judge whether we need them or we don't need them, and that will require some tough decisions. But then focus on what it is we're trying to achieve. Really focus on it. No business succeeds without focus. And if you look around the world, at businesses, big and small, that have failed or are failing, it's nearly always because they take their eye off the ball and lose focus on what they're trying to achieve. Let me encourage you to be ambitious. Don't think because the costs are limited, because there are restraints, that should in any way limit your ambition as an organisation. I think being in agriculture, being in this big industry that we're a tiny part of, we've never been in a better place. I think it's really exciting what's happening in terms of the requirement of the food for food and the tools that we have to apply that will make this industry a much more technical, a much more interesting business and industry to be in. I wish I was 21 again. I keep saying that. I just want to finish with two comments. I still believe that NFYFC is one of the country's best kept secrets. I don't think you really sell yourselves. I think you undersell yourselves in terms of what you offer to members, to membership. You take people, you take children from children through to adulthood. And on that journey, they may make mistakes and so on. But nonetheless, you do that, you nurture them, and you provide the leaders of the future. Sir Peter Kendall was sat here yesterday. He came through NFYFC. So please get out there, make sure that everybody knows what it is you do, what you can offer. Because I talk about self-help, you can help yourselves more than anything else by getting one extra member into NFYFC. Final pledge from me is that Margaret and I will continue in our last year, because this next year will be my last year as your president. We will continue to do everything we can to help and support you in your endeavours. Thank you.
Before we move on, I'd like to reiterate the thanks that have been given to Paul on behalf of the officer team. Your wisdom and your support have been invaluable. And Paige mentioned Margaret as well. Margaret's always there supporting you and therefore supporting us. And we just have a little something to say thank you.
Well, Margaret can't say anything from down there, but I'll say on her behalf, thank you very much indeed for that nice gesture. The best moment of that for Margaret was kissing Chris Manley. Okay, item 6.2, let's move on. And can I ask Katie Davis and Edward Potter to propose and second the motion from the floor, from the council rather, for deputy presidents?
Mr. President, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, fellow hungover young farmers, it gives me great pleasure to propose the motion that the 2014 Deputy Presidents be thanked for their services to the Federation over the past 12 months. As a movement, we are incredibly grateful for all of the support and dedication you give us. We are an ever-evolving movement, modernising all the time, but it is crucial that we have those with the knowledge and experience that we can rely on to lend us a hand as and when needed. All of you are actively involved within your counties and areas, but you've still managed to find time to help us and the national organisation. For this dedication and for your support, we are eternally grateful. I would also like to propose the names as printed in your agendas, ladies and gentlemen, to be re-elected from April 2015 until May 2016. From the Eastern area, Stuart Cooper, known as an ideas man to the Essex Federation for his fundraising efforts towards their YFC building, before he went on to become Eastern Area President. He is an enthusiastic and typical grassroots member, one that took part in all opportunities available to him. From the East Midlands area, David Armstrong, a firm believer that the skills and benefits he gained from YFC shaped his future. He is determined to show young people what the YFC can offer and what we can gain from his experiences over the years. He also took part in a life-changing cultural exchange to Australia in 1985, whilst a YFC member. From the northern area, Diane Coles, a lifelong supporter of the County Durham Federation and their current county treasurer. Diane has also been Northern Area President and is an area trustee. The very well-known saying, "It is the taking part that counts," is important to Diane, as no matter how badly or how well she did in competitions, it was always the experience she valued the most. And from the Wales Federation, Sharon Jones, a regular steward at Wales YFC events, a lifelong Clwyd YFC member, and the county's treasurer for the last 10 years. It is still rare for Sharon to miss a meeting of her club Llangollen now, and she has passed on the well-known YFC bug to her son. She encourages us all to ask for help as and when needed, and will be there to support us any way she can. Whilst I've had the honour of proposing these 4 hard-working people to be re-elected, there are another 3 who Edward, my seconder, will mention: Alethea Snelling, Catherine Luck and Linda Savage. Mr President, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, fellow young farmers, it has been my pleasure to propose the motion that the Deputy Presidents be thanked for their services for the last 12 months, as well as proposing that they be re-elected for the coming year. Time is precious to us all, but these 7 people think of nothing to give up their spare time to help us as an organisation, and I cannot think of anyone better to take on the role of Deputy Presidents. Thank you, diolch yn fawr.
Mr President, Madam Chairman and fellow young farmers, I am here this morning to second the motion proposed by Katie and to once again, on behalf of the members, council and staff, thank for the commitment, enthusiasm and support provided by the 2014 Deputy Presidents. I have a great pleasure in seconding the names as printed in your agenda and will briefly introduce the 3 remaining Deputy Presidents. Representing the South East area, we have Alethea Snelling, who hails from the county of Berkshire and has strong grounding at club level for the past 30 years. During her YFC career, she has held many club and county roles, including this year being Berkshire's county president in their 70th year. Alethea is passionate about training and educational and personal development of the members. Representing the southwest area on home turf, we have Catherine Luck, again holding numerous club and county positions, as well as being a post-area chairlady. Having met her husband through the rural dating agency that is YFC, their 2 daughters have followed the family tradition and joined their local YFC club. Finally, Linda Savage, representing the West Midland area. Linda is a Shropshire-born and bred lady, and one of which we as a county are extremely proud. Her support and involvement with her local club Nestcliff and with her county and area has been outstanding. Linda strongly believes that young farmers are far more effective than any anti-wrinkle ageing cream at keeping you young at heart, and is always keen to encourage the members to take full advantage of opportunities available to them. One thing that is apparent from what Katie and I have said, as well as speaking with the members from all areas this weekend, is that the Deputy Presidents are 110% committed to the YFC movement. And I have great pleasure in seconding the motion from the NFYFC Council that the 2014 Deputy Presidents be thanked for their service to the Federation over the past year, and also that the names printed in the agenda be elected from April 2015 until May 2016.
Thank you very much, Katie and Edward. Does anyone wish to speak to this motion from the floor? Well then, can I then please ask for a show of cards, please? All those in favour? Anyone against? Well, in that case, may I thank you very much indeed for your efforts and welcome you back into your posts and look forward to another successful year. And you are my deputies, so can I just reiterate my thanks for that? We can move on there now to item 6.3, which is a Life Vice President motion. And this is Adele Hamer and Rachel Milner to propose.
Mr President, Madam Chairman, honoured guests, ladies, gentlemen and fellow young farmers. It gives me great pleasure to stand before you here today to propose the motion on behalf of the Yorkshire Federation of Young Farmers that in recognition of his services and commitment to the Young Farmers Organisation at all levels over many years, Mr. Adrian Willis be elected Life Vice President of the National Federation of Young Farmers Clubs. 43 years ago, Adrian became a member of Worsborough Young Farmers, which was at the time part of the West Riding, later becoming part of the Yorkshire Federation. Adrian was a keen member from the word go. He held officer roles at every level: club, district, county, area and national. Club treasurer, club chairman, district chairman, county vice chairman and later county chairman. He also held the role of Northern Area chairman and in 1993 became chairman of NFYFC's Development Committee and could be often found wearing a bee costume. Adrian's knowledge of the Young Farmers Organisation is second to none. He is a vital part of the movement across all levels. From stock judging to tug-of-war, public speaking to dances, club to national. Outside of Young Farmers, Adrian is the owner and managing director of Trustsport, a firm which Adrian built up himself, supplying t-shirts, polo shirts, caps and embroidery throughout the UK and Europe. He often produces and sponsors the Yorkshire Young Farmers tops for the AGM. Adrian has held numerous roles as well as Young Farmers. Former trustee and secretary of the Prince's Trust Awards North Yorkshire, trustee and previous vice chairman for Rural Action Yorkshire, company secretary for Barnsley Football Club Supporters Trust, vice chairman of Barnsley Cricket Club and finance committee chairman, and if that isn't already enough, company secretary for 4 additional companies. Adrian spends a lot of his time commuting between his work in Barnsley, Yorkshire County Office in Knaresborough, and his home in Caton near Lancaster. Adrian has a saint of a partner, I'm not sure where she sat, at the back, in the lovely Caroline. I really do not know how you cope. You have even more to contend with than I do. Also, Adrian and Caroline have 2 beautiful young children, Ava 4 and Dexter, who are sat in the room here today. Wave! I'm sure Caroline, Ava and Dexter are very proud of their partner and daddy. Having recently retired as Yorkshire County Chairman, I feel there could be no greater end to my year than to be stood here today proposing the gentleman who has not only helped and guided me over the past 9 years, but who has encouraged and pushed me and made me realise that really anyone, including myself, can be whatever they want to be. I, on behalf of myself and the Federation, cannot thank you enough for your continued help and knowledge and support of the Young Farmers Organisation, but hope that this prestigious election will go some way to showing that. I hope you will all join with me in the proposal that in recognition of his services and commitment to the Young Farmers Organisation at all levels over many years, Mr. Adrian Willis be elected Life Vice President of the National Federation of Young Farmers Clubs.
Well, I must start by thanking Adele for that moving speech, tough act to follow. Thanks for that, Adele. So good morning, everyone. Mr. President, Madam Chairman, ladies, gentlemen, and fellow young farmers. On speaking with Adrian this weekend, I discovered quite unbelievably that he was a reluctant young farmer when he first started and joined his local club at the age of 12. But he tells me that after attending his first social event and discovering some quite attractive young ladies there, that it was okay and he thought he might stick around. So 43 years later, Adrian is still involved in all aspects of YFC life. For as long as I've been a member of the County Durham Federation, I always remember Adrian being there somewhere in the background. Whether that be judging a tug-of-war competition, running the bar at a Yorkshire social event, on the door at the annual convention, in the wings of a panto or entertainment competition, or as trustee of the Northern Area Committee. He's always there offering advice and guidance. His passion and commitment for YFC is clear for anybody to see, and I'm sure this support will continue into the future as young Ava and Dexter start to join in with young farmers too. The big question is, though, will they become members of the Yorkshire or the Lancashire Federation? So I ask you all to join with me and support the motion that Mr. Adrian Willis is elected Life Vice President of the NFYFC. Thank you very much.
Does anybody wish to speak to that motion from the floor? Let's have a show of cards, please. All in favour? Thank you. Just for the record, is anyone against that? No. Right. Can I ask you, Adrian, to come up and I'll give you your badge?
Well, Adele, you almost reduced me to tears then, so... deep breaths, good young farmers' practice for public speaking. Mr. President, young farmers, thank you very, very much for this honour. This morning at 4 o'clock I had marvellous words for you. Just 7 hours later they almost failed me, but they won't. I have a lot of people to thank, not least in 1933, a gentleman who none of you will have heard of, called Alfred Octavius Elmhurst, who founded our club. Unfortunately for me, on the 13th of this month, I had the dubious honour and privilege of closing it due to a lack of membership. It's a thing that's common in parts of Yorkshire, I'm afraid, as we get more and more urban, and there's more tarmac and concrete and less farms, but that's just how it is, I'm afraid. Over the years, I've had some fantastic experiences. I got my first job because at the age of 16, I've been club treasurer. Young farmers, young people can do an awful lot for you. It's done a terribly awful lot for me. It's given me a great amount of confidence to go forwards into many areas to represent not just myself but you and the great organisation that is YFC. I've reflected about what perhaps were the best moments. Well, there have been an awful lot. The bee costume that Adele alluded to, there's a council photograph with me laid at the National Chairman's feet as Chairman of the Development Committee. We were promoting Buzz Week. I don't normally wear a bee outfit, but for that occasion I did. I have had the honour and privilege of standing here before you to propose some great people as Vice President, the great Roy Boreham and his late wife Ursula. Tremendous people, and to follow in their shoes I am deeply honoured. I stood here to present the Development Committee report, one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done in my life, because I didn't want to miss anything out and let down my committee. And I had the fortunate thing at that time of serving with Alethea, who was one of your deputy presidents, which was a great learning curve for me and very enjoyable. Over the years, Yorkshire have honoured me with a life a life membership, which ranks along this as probably the third best thing I've ever done in YFC. But over the years, I've had some wonderful relationships and things like that. But the second best thing I have to thank YFC for is finding my fiancée and partner, Caroline. But I have to say, young farmers, that without this organisation, the one or the two things really that would not have happened are these two beautiful children. The one thing I have to thank you all for is these two beautiful children. For the benefit who can't see, the tops are half a red rose, half a white rose, 50% Yorkshire, 50% Lancashire, but as you can see, 100% future young farmers. In closing, Mr. President, I would wish to thank the greatest youth movement in Europe, the National Federation of Young Farmers Clubs, for this great and wonderful honour. From the bottom of my heart, on behalf of my partner and my family, and on behalf of Yorkshire, thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. When we left Blackpool last year, my parting shot was go forth and multiply. I didn't quite mean it that literally, but there you go. What a lovely moment, and thank you for that. Item agenda 6.4, Life President election for Mr. Eric Freeman. Can I ask Vicky Hicks and Katie Hall, please, to come forward and propose and second the motion from Gloucestershire Federation of Young Farmers Clubs?
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the top table, and fellow young farmers. I would like to propose on behalf of the Gloucestershire Federation that Mr. Eric Freeman be elected as a Life Vice President of NFYFC in recognition of his services and commitment to the organisation. Eric is a local celebrity with his recognisable beard and trademark coloured socks. Today's are yellow, by the way. He's a true farming legend. His memory can recall the family trees of almost every Gloucestershire young farmer since he joined the organisation when he was 12 and a half years old, and back in those days he had to get special permission to do so. Stepping straight into the role of chairman for his local club Newent, we're thankful that that experience didn't scare him too much, as he's been a huge ambassador ever since. As our county president for 6 years, Eric's enthusiasm was infectious and constantly encouraged us to punch above our weight in the South West area competitions. You could guarantee that if we were somewhere competing, Eric would be there to support us and chant "Gloucester" along with us. Eric has a very rare quality for a man of his years, being able to tell a story without it sounding too back in my day. He's naturally endearing, and all our members are in awe at his knowledge and achievements. You could even write a book about him. And indeed, somebody already has. I couldn't quite up the children on the props front there, sorry. He does an amazing job at promoting young farmers in everything he does. His connections are endless, and if you need to contact someone, you can guarantee that Eric will know them. He can be heard on BBC Radio Gloucestershire most Sunday mornings in a slot that showcases the characters that make Gloucestershire great, and Eric definitely typifies this. His calendar is busier than Friday wristband registration here at AGM, but he still finds time for YFC. Through his charity work with Gloucestershire Farming Friends, Eric has emphasised the importance young farmers play in supporting each other during difficult times. We have the greatest amount of respect for him, and we know that he'll be spurred on even further by this honour to continue promoting, motivating and enthusing members to realise their potential through YFC. It is for these reasons that I would like to propose the motion that Mr. Eric Freeman be elected as a Life Vice President to the National Federation of Young Farmers Clubs.
Mr. President, ladies, gentlemen, fellow young farmers and honoured guests, it is my pleasure to second the motion that Mr. Eric Freeman be elected as a National Life Vice President of Young Farmers. Eric is the busiest great-grandfather in Gloucestershire, as he plays a huge part in many organisations such as the Rare Breed Survival Trust, where he is a founding member and has been recognised in his own right with a Lifetime Achievement Award. Eric is also a founding member of the Gloucester Cattle Society and the Gloucester Old Spot Breeders Club. With animals at the centre of Eric's life, the disastrous outbreak of the foot and mouth disease in 2001 saw Eric becoming one of the earliest committee members setting up Gloucestershire Farming Friends, which to this day continue to support farmers, young and old, through tough times. Uncle Eric, as he is known to many Gloucestershire members, is a tall country gent with so much passion and enthusiasm for the countryside and the young farmers movement. Eric's enthusiasm never wavers and is always there to support Gloucestershire members. He can even be found sat amongst us today. Eric, to me, and all the members of the Gloucestershire Federation, you're a true hero. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to second the motion that Mr. Eric Freeman be voted a National Life Vice President of Young Farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky and Katie, for that. Does anybody wish to speak to the motion? Can I therefore please ask for a show of cards? All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. Please, Eric, will you come up and accept your badge?
Mr. President and everybody, at the beginning of the meeting, Paul mentioned has-beens down on this end of the table. I am the champion has-been. Could I first take a couple of seconds out to congratulate our Gloucestershire member, Daniela. She proposed Paul earlier. What an inspiration that girl is. I've known her from day one of her membership, and she's now an inspiration to all others, and she's got years yet to come. So I would just like to say congratulations, Danielle. I've been in Young Farmers a long time. 1944 I joined. And we had the Duke of Norfolk as our president. Now, nobody can remember, not the present one, nor the one before that, I think it was. But now we've got the Duke of Oxford as our president. And very pleased to see him there as well. I'd like to thank Vicky and Katie for their words. I just pass saying anymore, really. I didn't realise I was such a good fella. But, but there we are. I want to also say that Bridget Hall, who's our present president, she followed me in. She's doing a marvellous job, and I hope she doesn't mind me supporting her, and I don't want her job back. But I just think this Young Farmers movement is absolutely brilliant. I had special permission to join in 1944 when the age was 14 to join. Now we can join it, what is it, 10? You know, 10 till 26. I know there's been motions to extend that, but I think 10 to 26 is quite wide enough, really. Anyway, I better not start on that one. I would just like to round it off by thanking you all so much for your applause and receiving me as your National Vice President for Gloucestershire. I think Gloucestershire is a wonderful place. The others aren't too bad, but, you know... and I was born there, and I should die there, I hope. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eric. Those two appointments epitomise, I think, what this organisation is all about. And thank you for your past and future support. We now go on to item 7, and I'm going to invite Claire Worden, last year's chairman, to present the senior officer team report and the annual report for last year. Now this, when you're chairman, you're very busy doing everything. This is the culmination of that year for the past chairman and those office holders. The jokes about has-beens, I know, was a joke. I hope to goodness that's not recorded as anything other than a joke down that end of the table. But the contribution that Claire and her team have made, I think, is exemplary and really impressive. And I now invite you, Claire, please, to give us your report.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, Mr. President, Madam Chairman, ladies, gentlemen, distinguished guests and members. I'm very privileged to sit here today with the outgoing officer team on the top table, and we are now going to present to you the annual report from 2014. I'm going to keep it very brief now because I will get a chance to speak later. So I'm going to move straight on and introduce Frank Chester, who is our chair of our Board of Management. And Frank is going to deliver 2 reports to you now. He's going to deliver the report of the Board of Management for the year 2014, and he's also going to deliver the presentation of audited accounts.
Mr. President, distinguished and honoured guests, fellow young farmers and friends. Borada, Mittenda, good morning everyone. Mittenda, if you don't know, is good morning in Cornish. It is a year since I stood before you in Blackpool, where I told you about the changes to our staffing structure going forward. Our staff team has been strengthened, with Maria and Sam joining us, and has been so ably led by James. Our staff are totally committed to you, the membership, and it is a great privilege to work with such a happy gang. It is brilliant to work alongside such committed national officers. The Rural Club Plus campaign is so fitting and has made us so acutely aware of all the problems rural isolation can cause. Thank you, Claire, for bringing this to our attention. Many of my points are covered in your annual report, which you have, and there are no prizes for repetition, deviation, or hesitation. But I would like to highlight 1 or 2. The huge improvement in openness we have tried to share with you. I hope you feel we have delivered what we did promise, in particular with regard to the budgets and accounts. We are at present in a very tough year, due to the fact that we will not be receiving a HOPS donation for the 2nd year in succession. HOPS in the past has been a huge help to the finances of NFYFC, and I hope that I can very soon report to you that HOPS is again in a position to support our federation. Your board is to undertake a governance review to make sure our structure is fit for purpose. I would like to see a very simple structure enabling you to better understand the lines of responsibilities. We have recently learnt of the huge loss of funding to Wales. I hope that going forward we can support each other more and help foster stronger and working relationships. I will cover many points when I present the annual accounts, but can I thank everyone and all organisations that have been a support to our movement, either through your sponsorship, your time, and also, most importantly, your enthusiasm. We rely so much on your commitment, and I and all the board are very appreciative of your support. I would like to digress for a moment to say a very personal and sincere thank you to someone who has for many years, and for maybe more years than they care to remember, been a brilliant supporter at NFYFC. When I joined your board, along with Julia, in December 2012, this person became one of my rocks. They could see I had a vision for NFYFC. This person is a true young farmer, through and through. This person has a passion, and that is to give you the very best convention ever. This year, 5,187. That is absolutely brilliant. If you haven't guessed already, the person I'm referring to is Mr. Bob Blizzard. I would just like to ask Julia, my Vice Chair, to give Bob a little thank you for being there for us all. Thank you. Julia. Bob is, like me, is quite a shy and reserved young lad. Now then. Alberto. Back to the job in hand. Thank you, Bob. If I can highlight one or two of the main points in the annual accounts. Our income is down 49,000 to 820,000, which, considering we received 125,000 from hops in 2013, is a fantastic result. Much of the credit must go to James in central office and Christina, our fundraising officer, who has increased our sponsorship and grant income by 42,500. Also, last year's convention, with increased numbers and sponsorship, beat budget by £6,000. But it is the reduction in expenditure that has had the biggest impact. A few of the main areas of savings are 11,000 saved on direct programme, 134,000 saving in central management. 50% of this was the saving through our new staffing structure, implemented in January 2014, by being the reduction of the most senior role. We had budgeted for a full year of staffing costs, but with the head of marketing development and communication officer, these roles were filled halfway through the year. Our overall expenditure of NFYFC has been reduced by 145,000. This has been achieved through many avenues, but I must thank James for holding a firm hand and managing our expenditure so well. Thank you, James. The investment portfolio rose in value by 48,000, which gives us a net loss for the year of 58,000. I am most grateful for your support in passing the levy increase last year, and I hope that the proposed levy increase this year will receive your full and unanimous support. As a board, we are committed to supporting the staff team deliver a full programme to you. All the steering group chairs have now realistic budgets, having taken up the challenge to reduce expenditure and virtually have a zero budget if possible. I would like to by saying a personal thank you to Julia, my Vice Chair, and all the board. We will get there. To James for being an excellent Chief Officer and a friend. To the staff at NFYFC Towers, you are the best. But it is you, the members, who are simply the greatest. You make it all worthwhile. Thank you for the privilege of allowing me to be your board chair. I hope you're all having the most amazing weekend. I have great pleasure in presenting my report and the accounts for your adoption. Thank you.
Can I now please ask Kate Wainwright and Ant Boson to come up and propose a motion that the accounts be adopted.
Good morning, Madam Chairperson, Mr President, ladies, gentlemen and fellow young farmers. My name is Kate Wainwright and I'm representing Derbyshire Young Farmers and their county chair. I would like to propose the motion that the audited accounts for 2014 as presented by Frank be adopted. As you are all aware, the financial records and budgets are constantly being heavily scrutinised and discussed at National Council by grassroots members and clubs and counties. We are all having to tighten our belts to ensure that the National Federation is running as we should and as we would want any business that we would want to succeed, thrive and ensure it is around for a very long time to come. We are dependent on this information and the great work done by the Board and Council, along with steering groups, showing this by cuts that have been made in the past year to reduce the expected losses. This information is here for us all to see and to use, and details National's financial information that can aid decisions that we make. I would also like to propose that Grant Thornton of Birmingham are adopted as the independent auditors for 2015. Grant Thornton have been the auditors of the National Federation of Young Farmers for the past 3 years now, and have built up a very good relationship with the board, which also aids with further decisions, as I know myself as an accountant, a valuable relationship is very useful. Thank you.
Mr. President, Madam Chairman, ladies, gentlemen, and fellow members. My name is Anthony Boson. I am from Norfolk Young Farmers. As Frank has said, we have had a tough year, which means that every penny counts. So it's even more important that the accounts are audited in a professional and diligent manner. So I would like to second the forced motion by Kate to adopt the audited accounts as printed, and that Grant Thorntons be appointed as auditors for 2015. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate and Ant. Does anybody wish to speak to this motion from the floor? Can I therefore please have a show of cards, all in favour of adopting the report? Thank you. Anybody against? 0. Thank you for that. So therefore the accounts are adopted, and Grant Thornton are appointed auditors for a further year. So thank you for that. The accounts and the appointment have been approved. Can we now go on to item 7.3? This is a motion from the NFYFC Council, and it's referred to by Frank in his report. It's on the board behind me, on the screen behind me. Can I invite Caroline Trude and Caroline Baker, please, to make their way to the lectern and propose the motion 7.3 on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies, gentlemen, and fellow young farmers, I would like to propose that the gross national subscription for the period 1st of September 2015 to the 31st of August 2016 be increased by 20%. The current national levy pot amounts to £299,157. However, the recommendation through the Board of Management is that this pot is increased by 20% to £358,998. A year ago in Blackpool, we heard from our Honorary Treasurer about how monetary contributions from Hop Labour Services Solutions Limited had depleted to almost nothing, leaving the Federation in an extremely difficult and vulnerable position. Through the voting power of the members, we agreed a 20% increase of the national levy. At the time, the Board of Management suggested that this increase would need to be seen again at future AGMs to allow for the budget and services to members to remain as they currently are. So, Mr. President, here I am proposing the motion for a 20% increase, which would equate to £2.66 a member if current membership numbers remain static. Through information that has been sent out to all clubs prior to today's meeting, we can clearly see a potential shortfall in our national accounts. And we know that for us to enjoy all the advantages of being a member, we must be able to support our national structure through our annual subscriptions. If this 20% increase was to be passed today, we would see an extra £59,831, which would make the gross national subscription nearly 40% of the overall income of the National Federation. This just shows how imperative our levies are to the running of our organisation. It is at this point I would like to say that my members in Devon and I are in complete favour of this 20% increase. However, I would like to remind the National Board of Management that the county federations around the country and the Welsh Federation are also facing tough financial times, and therefore reliance on future levy increases cannot be guaranteed. So, Mr. President, I urge my fellow members to take into account the current financial position of the National Federation, and I propose that the gross national subscription for the period 1st of September 2015 to the 31st of August 2016 be increased by 20%. Thank you.
Mr. President, Madam Chairman, ladies, gentlemen and fellow young farmers. Sorry about the slightly croaky voice. I am here not only as a second part of the Caroline Double Act today, but to second the motion that the gross national subscription, the national levy, for the period 1st September 2015 to 31st of August 2016 be increased by 20%. Caroline has already mentioned some of the key reasons why the increase on the national levy is important for our federation to keep moving forward, and I would like to put another slightly alternative spin on that. Without the backing from members in this room today, the next question that I pose to us is simple. What do we sacrifice instead? We are fortunate enough to receive all sorts of benefits from our membership, such as excellent communications, many opportunities to compete in a varied competitions programme, access to all sorts of training and development courses, YFC travel, and work within agricultural and rural affairs to ensure young farmers have a voice, as well as having a superb NFYFC staff team to allow all of these to take place. Just a few of the many things that we receive, and without ongoing support from us as members, something will simply have to give. This is action that I do not wish to see, and I'm certainly sure you do not either. It is vital that we all take responsibility for the situation that our federation faces and get stuck into helping out in any way we can. The answer is simple: recruitment. The theory is all there. The more members we have, the lower the impact of the levy increase per person. So, ladies and gentlemen, the challenge has been set, and I urge you all to wholeheartedly support the motion that the gross national subscription for the period 1st September 2015 to 31st of August 2016 be increased by 20%. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline and Caroline. Now, is there anybody who wishes to speak to this motion from the floor, please? That's permissible, I suppose, is it? Please do, Eric. Is that right? Kind of, no.
Mr. President, I just want to remind the present audience and all the young farmers in the country, the original slogan, if you could call it that, for young farmers back in the 40s was good farmers, good countrymen, good citizens. And now our slogan is for young farmers, by young farmers. We got the 40% now, self-funding, and why shouldn't we be 100%? Well, we shouldn't expect all these things to come for nothing. There's enough people getting enough for nothing now in the country. So let's back our president. Let's back all our people on the stage here and get on with it. It's been going since 30 something, and I've been in it a long time, and I want to see it for my grandchildren and the rest.
I'm not sure about the constitutional allowance of that, but it was pretty damn good, I'd say. Can I please ask for a show of cards in favour of the motion? Thank you. Can I have a show of cards against the motion? Thank you. I'm not going to count them. I'm going to say it was by an over... Well, any abstentions? Yes, thank you. No. You're not like that, are you, young farmers? You're for it or against it. Yeah. An overwhelming majority. Thank you all for that. I think I shouldn't say things as president, but Eric does, so why shouldn't I? I think that does show great maturity and self-confidence, and I do agree with Eric that the more independent you are of other organisations and other funding, the stronger you will be, and I commend you on that vote. Thank you. Now then, back to Claire.
Okay, so now up next to receive the report for the annual report for 2014, I would like to introduce to the lectern Russell Carrington, who was the chair of the Agri Steering Group for 2014.
Well, good morning, friends. It's certainly been a great honour for me to be chair of the Agri Steering Group from November 2013 until February 2015. I must give a special mention to the team which makes up the steering group, a collection of extremely dedicated young farmers with a huge amount of passion and energy who've enabled the Agri Steering Group to achieve so much during these 16 months. And thanks also to Joe Wiles, our Agri Officer, who's been putting in a massive effort behind the scenes to make a huge amount happen. So we've had a great year, and we kicked off by changing our name from ARAC to AGRI, Agricultural and Rural Issues, doing exactly what it says on the tin. It became clear to me as Vice Chair that the old name was a barrier to effectively communicating the good things that were being achieved, and so I wanted to address this from the off. In doing so, set a precedent for the way that we communicated agricultural and rural issues within the membership, what it means for members and how they can get involved. A snappy monthly e-newsletter was launched to provide regular updates to steering group members and to county AgriLinks people across the country and help disseminate information to our members. This continues to go from strength to strength, and the feedback has been very positive. We've also developed the Twitter hashtag YFCAgri and a very active Facebook group. Many counties have followed suit and changed the name, and others are now creating agri roles and committees within their own counties, a move which further enables members to have their say on important issues. The latest Common Agricultural Policy continued to unfold during 2014, and the steering group took every opportunity to have input on key decisions both at home and in Brussels through CESIA, the Council for European Young Farmers. Although YFC is not a political organisation, increasing our attendance at key meetings to tell the powers that be that how things are on the ground for rural young people has made a real difference to the support we will see for young people in agriculture in the years to come. Already, mandatory top-up payments for people farming in their own right will be approximately £4,000 extra income every year over 5 years, and this is a fantastic achievement. Last summer, several members were invited to a consultation at St George's House on attracting and supporting new entrants to agriculture. There were detailed discussions about the initiatives already in place and the barriers to further progress. Commitments were made to do more, particularly in promoting careers in agriculture to school children, plus the matching service previously investigated by NFYFC will now be revisited. As members who visited the Agri Forum yesterday will have heard about the More Than Tractors campaign that we've launched, whereby members are being encouraged to film short videos of themselves explaining their careers and demonstrating that working in agriculture is more diverse than many people would believe. As Sir Peter Kendall said yesterday, it is up to us to spread the good message about what we're doing. And with the help of some DEFRA funding, we brought in Susie Emmett from Green Shoots to provide some training on how to make videos. During the training, we actually made a video on how members could make a promotional video, and perhaps some of the technical team over the side could tweet a link to that video on YouTube as I speak. The steering group was also involved in many other topical issues and took part in discussions and debates at several conferences. A conversation in one of our meetings early in 2014 led to a massive effort by young farmers to support stricken farmers following some of the country's worst ever flooding. Members Ed Ford, Essex, and Jock Muirhead, Somerset, were instrumental in leading the work of Forage Aid. Along with many others, their help, support and donations were hugely valued by those farmers in need. YFC Agri also organised and delivered 13 training workshops to 133 members, which included tenancy training with Savills, grassland management training with the British Grassland Society, Meat for the Market training with Eblex, social media training with Social Bee, and a Walk the Wool Chain event with the Wool Board. A study tour to Holland was also attended by 43 members, and the latter part of the year, a junior study tour to Scotland for under 18-year-old members. All of these provided excellent development opportunities for our members. Thanks must go to our agri sponsors, Massey Ferguson, Moore Valley Farmers, Hops Labour Solutions, DEFRA and Coon Farm Machinery for their financial support they have provided. Like every other steering group, we've had to carefully re-evaluate our available budgets. And as we've considered what services we can cut, we've had to think and discuss hard about which agri activities are a priority for our members. Although NFYFC's membership of CESIA has clearly brought about benefits for young people in farming, it is difficult to justify spending money on this, which we just don't have. However, the opportunity does remain open for a sponsor to provide the necessary funds, and we are looking for alternative ways to stay involved with CESIA, but sadly this could be the reality of the financial cuts we are facing in our organisation. What we as members must now do is to continue making the most of every opportunity, to have our say, influence policy, communicate our message and promote the amazing opportunities in agriculture and connected industries. Thank you. Now over to my best bits, hopefully. Should be to music actually, but... Thank you very much. And just in closing, I'd like to now invite Julian Sayers from the Worshipful Company of Farmers to the front to present a cheque towards the new Agri Training Scholarship for £1,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Russell, for your really excellent report about your year as Agri Steering Group Chairman. Now, moving on, I would like to introduce David Hamer up to the lectern next to present to you the report for the Competition Steering Group 2014. Keep it brief, Dave.
Now then, Mr. President, honoured guests and fellow young farmers, I think we've had a right good year. The steering group has worked harder than ever to not only deliver the original programme, but also add fun, self-funding and profit-making competitions. We worked harder to make sure competition finals are events to be celebrated and remembered, involving as many young farmer members as we can. And that is why we organised Essex Young Farmers to perform on stage at our choir and dancing finals last year. And that is why we have forged stronger relationships with outside bodies such as the Tug of War Association, the English Speaking Union, and the Birmingham and Staffordshire and Birmingham Agricultural Society, to name a few. 2014, a year in which, after their choir performance, I tried to bribe Glamorgan to come and sing at my wedding instead of going to the Royal Welsh Show. I survived Competitions Day, at which I thanked the pushy parents. I shed tears at our cookery and floral arts competition because I just couldn't help it. And we had our junior tug-of-war champions, Parbold from Lancashire, go and compete against the very best teams in Europe. Truly awesome. Here are some memories in pictures, accompanied by champion brass band Brighouse and Rastrick. It's a bit quiet. Mr. President, honoured guests and fellow young farmers, yet again the competition steering group have proven that they are fit for purpose, deliver value for money and of great benefit to every single young farmer member. Thank you. I would now like to call upon the man himself, the darts champion for the last 2 years running, £100 in his pocket yesterday, Mark Kerr, to announce the winners of the Member of the Year 18 years and over competition results.
Thank you, David. Good morning, young farmers. I would like to welcome to the front this morning our competitors from the Senior Member of the Year competition yesterday. Jess Townsend from Lancashire, Lindsay Martin from Kent, Freddie Horwood from Somerset, Edward Potter from Shropshire, Chris Sheldon from Lincolnshire, Laura Elliott from Glamorgan, and Emma Kelcher from Cambridgeshire. On behalf of the Steering Group Committee, I would like to thank our 3 judges yesterday, Mr. John Lee, OBE, Mrs. Elizabeth Glanville, and Mr. Charlie Willett. I'm sure that they had an envious task, and I wouldn't want to have done their job. They started by submitting CVs to the judges. We then had private interviews yesterday morning, and then during the pantomime finals we had the stage interviews consisting of 2 questions chosen by the judges. These members are all great ambassadors for the Federation, and it's a great achievement just to get to this stage today, regardless of the result. They've been great ambassadors for their counties, for their clubs, never mind the National Federation. Having stood there myself last year, I know the pain that you've been through yesterday, the long wait that you've had for the results. So I'd now like to call on Hannah Talbot to come and present the prize cards and the trophy. I've only just found these out myself, so... In 3rd place, we have Jessica Townsend from Lancashire. In 2nd place, Lindsay Martin from Kent. And in 1st place, the one you've all been waiting for, Laura Elliott from Glamorgan. I'd like to express congratulations to all 7 contestants. And in equal 4th place, Edward Potter, Shropshire, Chris Sheldon, Lincolnshire, Freddie Horwood, Somerset, and Emma Kelcher, Cambridgeshire. If you stay behind after the meeting today, you'll be presented with your equal 4th place certificates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark, and thank you, David Hamer, for your report on competitions. I would now like to move on to the Communications, Events and Marketing Steering Group report of 2014. Can I call on David Maidment, please?
Oh, good afternoon, Mr. President, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, young farmers and friends. Claire got it slightly wrong. We are now the Events and Marketing Steering Group now. So that was a big change for us. We dropped one word out of our committee, but we felt like we were achieving something by that. So I feel a bit of a fraud up here this morning because I'm not going to have a presentation other than what I'm doing now. I don't have any children to bring up here. Thankfully, though, I also don't have a hangover anymore, so that's even better. I also was told I had 90 seconds, but that email didn't reach Russ today, obviously. But anyway, on with the presentation. The Events and Marketing Group have many remits. This year we took on the ski trip, which we had 500 members go to, and it was to teens. Great success. I'll press the button so it says that. There we are. It was a great success, and it was down to the event organisers outgoing, but also down to the 2 reps per area who took the bookings and looked and sourced people, and they did a wonderful job, and I really would like to thank them all. And again, we've got the same for this year, or next year, I should say, and that's off to Les Arcs from the 8th to the 16th of January. It's launched this weekend, so please, it seems like a long way away, but it does fill up very quickly, so please, if you're interested, do go along. Twitter and Facebook. I didn't even have a Twitter handle up until last year, but it is the way forward for young farmers. And as you can see, well, we've got the website, but also we've got 25 likes on Facebook, 7,500 followers on Twitter, and that's meant, somehow, I don't quite know how, we've reached 21 million people through that press coverage. So it's not the present, it's not the future, it is now, and it's important. YFC Buzz, 18,000 subscribers to that. That's very good, but my personal favourite is a 1026. So if you live in a distant, remote place in the back of wherever and you don't get an internet, you'll still get your 1026. And there's 3 of those a year, and I think they're very important and they're very well produced. And the website continues to be up to date, and as you see, we get 876 hits a day on that. So that can only increase the membership. But of course, we are events and marketing, and that's basically the big part is the AGM. And as Dave's referred to, we make a big profit in our steering group, so we've got no complaints. You know, you see it in the accounts. It's easy. I don't know what the rest of them are playing at, frankly. But anyway, we went to Blackpool last year, and we had 5,500 attendees, as you've heard. It's the highest we've had for 10 years. Didn't know that did that. Anyway, right. Really should have made my own slides. Anyway, right. And we had Radio 1 DJs. They were excellent. Chris Stark, Scott Mills. But probably the highlight, or some would say, was NFYFC doing their Put That Hoe Down live show. And it was very, very entertaining. I quite enjoyed it anyway. Nothing to do with the alcohol. And finally, we also have a mobile-optimized website. I had to get that, make sure I got that right, so that actually members don't miss a single thing during the thing. So you've also got these little cards you can see in the background. So it's all wonderful work. The steering group continues to evolve and move with the times, as does the whole of YFC. I think that's very, very important. I would like to just briefly say it was an honour to be the chairman of this group for only a year, but it was very much appreciated. My committee are wonderful. I think next year they're even better. And I'd also like to thank the staff of Emily, Christina, Sam, Cheryl, Maria, and Gary. We get a lot of staff in our group just because we're so busy. Again, I'd like to thank them all. My parting thing is, young farmers, we work hard and we play hard. And hopefully we have music. Or not. There we go.
Not that one there, that's good. Oh, and that one's
Thank you very much.
David, don't get comfortable. Stay standing. Okay, now, at the end of my last council meeting, I presented my steering group chairman with a gift, a small gift as a thank you for all of their hard work and commitment and dedication for their year. I presented them each with a game, and the game was to give them something to do now that they were going to have some spare time. And David very kindly received the game from me at the meeting and then left it. And then tweeted afterwards, on the way home or when he got home, "Has anyone picked my game up?" I did, David. And I would now like to present it to you again. Unless you don't want it.
No, of course not.
He promises he's going to take it home this time. Okay, next up, I would like to introduce Nicola Chegwidden for the report on the Personal Development Steering Group from 2014.
Good morning, Mr. President, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow young farmers, Mr. Ndar. So the Personal Development Steering Group is all about travel, training and youth work. And this year, NFYFC had an exciting opportunity to work in partnership with the National Council of Voluntary Youth Services, also known as NFYFC, the RSPB and the Canal Rivers Trust, in a project that would encourage young people to take part in projects that supported their local communities. The project gave the clubs opportunities to gain access to funding from government's Youth Social Action Fund to support them in their local community projects. Lots of clubs have been recognised for their activities, including clearing up communal garden areas, repainting community buildings and supporting local schools. The source continues to develop and is an essential toolkit and a one-stop shop for YFCs. This year, funding was secured, which meant that each county office could receive a printed copy of the source, meaning that information could be easily accessed if you haven't got access online. The source is also available online, and clubs and members can consult this through the members area, and this will hopefully be further developed to make it easier to view and search for information online. There's now a strong team of trainers spread across the country who are part of the Trainers Forum. These members continue to deliver training to grassroots members, including 10 curve modules, and we're very grateful for what they do, so thank you to each and every one of them. New curve courses are also under development to offer members an even wider choice of training opportunities, such as the cash management course supported by NatWest, and thank you very much for their NatWest bus and for these wristbands yesterday, continuing and supporting our development, including together with Agri Steering Group, the Federation has been able to offer bespoke agricultural training opportunities. The travel programme is continuing to attract a great deal of members for homestays, working scholarships and team travel opportunities. At the selection day in 2013, we saw a 58% increase in applicants for trips, and 2014 selection day also continued to have a large amount of applicants. The standard of applications and people attending interviews continue to impress the interview panels. We are always listening to members and investigating new travel opportunities. In 2014, we sent members to Ghana, and in 2015, we'll be sending members to the USA and India. I continue to be very grateful for a dedicated staff team that supports the Personal Development Steering Group, which includes Kath Sykes and Jodie Green, the Youth Development Officers, and Emily Johnson, YFC Travel Officer, who oversees the YFC Travel Programme with the support of Margaret Bennett. They continue to they work tirelessly progressing projects and new ideas forward to the members. I have thoroughly enjoyed this opportunity to chair the Personal Development Steering Group for the past 16 months and to support our Cornish Clare Warden through her term as National Chair, of which we're very proud of her and her achievements. I'll now have some photos, and I don't know what music's going to happen here. So I'd now like to call up Amy Mahoney from the Young Farmers Ambassadors to present the trophy, to present NFYFC with a cheque from the YFA, and also Hannah will then present the YFA trophy for the presentation. For the presentations that the young farmers coming back from trips produced. So thank you very much for the YFA for their support, and I'll hand over to Amy.
Thank you, Nicola. On behalf of England and Wales YFA, I'd like to present this cheque for £3,200 to NFYFC. This money is being given to the NFYFC to support the fantastic YFC travel programme. Young Farmers Ambassadors is a group of past and current YFC members that have travelled with the organisation. The travel programme is such an important part of what YFC offers to its members. I personally have witnessed this incredible opportunity and would urge you all to apply. Don't miss out on what can only be described as an experience of a lifetime. Please look out for all the information you will need, which will be coming out in September. I'd like to finish by presenting the YFA trophy for the Young Farmers Ambassadors Multimedia Competition. This year, this goes to Miss Laura Flower.
Thank you, Amy. And Nicola, can you just stand up for me? Because you cut in just before the end of your presentation, so nobody got to applause your hard work for the year. So please can we share our appreciation to Nicola? Too keen to get sat down, Nick. Okay, next up, I would like to introduce Sinead Davies, who was the chair of the Youth Forum, and she will be delivering the Youth Forum report for 2014.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Well, good afternoon, Mr. President, Madam Chair, ladies, gentlemen, fellow members and guests. I would like to introduce you to the newest cohort of the National Steering Group structure, having been formally recognised this year. Yes, they are a fresh-faced and dynamic bunch, and they are your Youth Forum, made up of Junior Member of the Year finalists and area representatives, all of whom are aged under 20. I'm hoping to give you a whistle-stop tour which will take you on a journey which includes momentous occasions in NFYFC's history, the current focus of the forum, and our extremely exciting plans for the future. First to Devon, where last April the forum marked the 80th year anniversary of NFYFC by burying a time capsule in Hemyock in Devon, where Coombe Valley YFC, the first club, was established. The capsule will be unearthed by the officer team in 2058, the 125th anniversary. I'm hoping and praying that I will still be alive and kicking to see the opening of the capsule and to enjoy another great display of tea and scones. This year has taken us all over the country, from NICVIS meetings in London to the British Youth Council AGM in Sheffield. Thanks to Georgie Morris of Shropshire's eloquent delivery of proposals, in the BYC manifesto we now have recognised that issues relating to rural mental health and field-to-fork education need addressing. An immense amount of work has been involved in producing our game, Watch That Cowpat, which strives to educate primary school children about where their food comes from. The game has been trialled right across the country, from inner city Birmingham to the CLA Game Fair. The game is now readily available for use, so please book it up. I obviously haven't got enough time to tell you in detail about the game, but if you've got any questions, please just ask. Subject to funding, each area should be getting a game so soon for use in their own areas, And it's a very, very exciting project which needs backing and is in an exciting development process. So just to summarise everything else that we've been up to, this year's action-packed AGM was held in the Isle of Man. We have influenced the choice of the junior sailing trip, which Nicola touched on, and brace yourselves, in February 2016, the Youth Forum is bringing you an under-18s ski trip. The buzz about the forum has been conveyed through the national media. The Farmers Guardian, the Farmers Weekly and the NFU have all touched on our work. We'd like to extend our heartfelt thanks to our sponsors for the year, Agco Parts, and it has been an absolute pleasure working with the officer team here and with the rest of the forum. I look forward to seeing Danielle McNulty and Amy Swinbank thrive in their new roles as chair and vice chair. These young people have added a new flavour to the discussions at the national meetings, have a really, really valuable input, and personally I feel that they've demonstrated that they have a very powerful role to play in shaping the future development of the movement. So here's just a few pictures of the year. Such a puppet. Thank you very much, and I hope you adopt the report.
Thank you very much, Sinead. As that shows, they have been incredibly active over the last 16 months, and they have an incredibly strong voice that's growing even stronger every meeting. They're a very influential bunch, and if any of you get any time to spend with them, please do, because they really will spur you on to try and get the most out of your membership. Now, Sinead, you weren't at the last council meeting, unfortunately, because you were unable to be there. So I would like to present you with your game for your hard work for the year. And I have you a wonderful game called Mousetrap. So hopefully we'll, spend hours playing it and you won't realise that you're missing working on the Youth Forum. Now I'd like to move on to the report of the Wales Federation of Young Farmers Clubs. And unfortunately, as discussed earlier, Ewan Merion, the chair of Wales Federation, is unable to be here today. So I would like to introduce Vicky Hope to the lectern, please, who's the vice chair of Wales.
Bryn Heinzer, Mr. President, Madam Chair, honoured guests and fellow young farmers. It gives me great pleasure to give the report on behalf of Wales YFC. Wales YFC, 2014 has certainly been a very eventful year for Wales YFC. With 5,092 members, 157 clubs, 12 counties, and 27 fantastic full-time members of staff across the whole of Wales, which includes our individual county staff and Wales staff. Just under 500,000 hours of unpaid volunteering has been clocked up through the past 12 months. The majority of the year was chaired by Miss Kate Miles, who did a fantastic job of chairing and leading our organisation. The Rural Affairs Committee has had a very busy year, which included hosting a farm visit with the Chairman and Director of Natural Resource Wales, submitting consultation papers and lobbying on behalf of our membership to the Welsh Assembly Government. welcoming our second scholar to Llyndy Isaf, which is a partnership between the National Trust and Wales YFC to give our members the opportunity to run their own farm for 12 months. And the pinnacle of our year was the first Rural Affairs Conference, which included a guest appearance from Michael Eavis of Glastonbury fame. The training committee has had a busy year, launching a new bespoke package of training available to all our members and also promoting the Duke of Edinburgh Award, which has had a fantastic uptake throughout Wales. The International Committee also had an eventful year, promoting our ever-growing programme of trips, which included a trip to Patagonia in the autumn of 2014. And finally, the Youth Forum, and probably the most passionate and enthusiastic bunch of young people I have ever met. They have supported each and every aspect of YFC throughout the year, with their year coming to an end at the AGM at the Royal Welsh Showground in Builth, Wales, where Ellen Havard took over as chair from Emily Lloyd. The Youth Forum has been instrumental in shaping the Future Generations Bill through the Welsh Government National Conversation, which I'm sure you'll all agree was a huge opportunity for our members under the age of 18. In July, we had the Royal Welsh Show with over 700 members competing in various competitions, from stock judging to flower arranging, cookery to tug of war. And of course, how can we forget the Young People's Village, with 4 nights of entertainment and a campsite to rival any music festival in the UK. Last year, 4,500 camped on site, with 14,000 people visiting the entertainment area throughout the week. We look forward to welcoming you all this year to celebrate our 25th year of the village. In August, we hosted a successful European rally in Margam Park and thoroughly enjoyed welcoming people from all parts of Europe to Wales. And we hope that NFYFC enjoyed their week with us in Wales. October was time for Kate to hand over the reins to Ewan as chairman of Wales YFC, and he announced ROSPA as his chosen charity of the year. This was quickly followed by our Eisteddfod, where over 85,000 people tuned in to watch the live broadcast on S4C. And then, as I have already mentioned, our Rural Affairs Conference. Unfortunately, 2014 didn't end on a high, as we found out a fortnight before Christmas that we had lost a total of 140k of funding from the Welsh Assembly Government. A bitter blow to the organisation, but over the past few months, the support to our organisation has been overwhelming, and we have certainly turned a corner within the last couple of weeks. Can I take this opportunity to thank all of those who have supported and continue to support us during this difficult time. And now we have a few of Ewan's top picks. No. Oh, I don't know. You can tell I didn't do this. There you go.
Thank you very much, Vicky, for presenting the Wales presentation. Now it comes to present my little section, which I've promised James I will keep short and sweet. Firstly, welcome everybody here. It's so great to see so many of you turning out to an AGM, showing the passion and enthusiasm that you as members have. Most of you know me quite well by now after spending 16 months in the chair. I'm a very active member still with my local club at Lostwithiel, and I still attend many county meetings. And it was through being such an active member that I got hoiked up onto the NFYFC Competitions Committee. And it was at that time that I truly did actually get addicted, because it was up there that I realised that actually, if we are vocal, we are the members, we do, run this organisation, and we can actively make those changes. And seeing changes through got me completely addicted, and that's what led me to where I am now. I never once ever thought that I would be standing here as the outgoing national chairman speaking to you guys, presenting a report. There's a few people specifically that I would like to thank for pushing me and making me aware that probably I was able to do this role. One of them sat near the back, Helen, that was Roberts, now Williams. Back when she was national chairman 5 years ago, didn't really know Helen when she first took on as chair. But through that year, I started spending quite a bit of time talking with her, babysitting Martin for her. And it was during that time that she kept telling me, do you know what, you could do this. And I kept thinking, maybe I can't. And actually, then one thing led to another, and there were a few other people, Chris Lloyd being one of them, a couple of staff members being others, saying, you can do this. The one piece of advice I would give to any of you sat here today, if you have members and they know you well and they are saying to you, I think you should do that, I think you can do that, listen to them, because I can tell you now it's one of the best things I've ever done. And so thank you very much to those people that gave me the nudge I needed to step forward. Everyone knows that the start to my chairmanship year was a little rocky in that we had the loss of our chief exec officer. And I still wholeheartedly thank everybody, the team, for pulling together, getting a restructure in place, a lot of time taken up with Frank Chester, Board of Management Chairman, and eventually we promoted James Eckley to Chief Officer. And James, I just want to say you've done a superb job. You handled everything really professionally, and thank you very much. Now, when I suddenly dawned on me I was becoming national chairman, I thought, what do I want to get out of my year? And having sat on council for about 6 years, there were a few things I wanted to do. I wanted to get members understanding our structure of our organisation, members understanding the power that they have, members understanding the communication routes and how they are so key to getting us to achieve our goals. And I also really wanted transparency, honesty, and to build the trust back. And I stand here today and thank this whole team of people on this top table, because I think between all of us and the NFYFC staff, I hope we've made a really big step towards achieving that goal. I've had a few standout moments within my year. The tractor run's been one of them, which my sister, wherever she is, oh, she's at the back over there, she organised for my club. And we did a tractor run from John O'Groats to Land's End. And I want to thank the council members that helped us en route, met us with cake, just came and cheered us on, and the warm welcome we received in every single county while we were travelling throughout the country was phenomenal. I also, with the Rural Plus campaign, was honoured to receive a Point of Light award by David Cameron in recognition of the campaign and highlighting rural isolation as a particular issue within rural young people. I was also lucky enough with NFU Southwest Branch to have a tour of Parliament, and we went to the Commons and the Lords, and we met the NFU political team. So many thanks to those. If any of you ever get the opportunity to go and tour the Houses of Parliament and the Commons, I would suggest that you do, because the understanding that you gain of how their side of things work and how their communication channels work with you guys in the local constituencies isn't that different to us as an organisation. I want to thank Campbell Scott, Massey Ferguson, for inviting me to Business of Farming Awards with him in the House of Commons. That really was an eye-opener, and it was a fantastic evening in spectacular surroundings. Something that's been highlighted already, Essex YFC. Ed Ford, Forage Aid, Essex with your epic tune, Put That Hoe Down, which you will hear in a moment. I want to congratulate you guys on getting a UK chart number 60 single at last year's AGM weekend. So massive congratulations. And that £1,000 you raised went, I believe, to the Farming Community Network. And it was all off the back of Rural Plus, so thank you. I've also want to just thank the counties for all the events that I've been invited to over the year. I've really enjoyed it. Representing you guys has been the easiest thing I've ever had to do, because you're all so passionate, you're a great bunch of people, and to actually go out and promote you and publicise our organisation to the wider community and the wider agricultural industry was actually incredibly easy, because you guys are phenomenal. And I now just have a video, hopefully if it works, of a few of the other bits and pieces that I've been up to. The one thing that I really want to focus on is what we do for charity. It's the one thing that we never, ever promote enough to the wider public. Essex, £1,000 for FCN just through their charity single sales, okay? we have various trophies that you can enter every year where we compile the data of how much you raise per county, and using a rough average, because it is a rough average, because unfortunately out of the 48 counties that we have, we only actually received entries from 18 this year. But if we take the average and we multiply that by the amount of counties we have, we actually, as an organisation, this last year have achieved more than £1.3 million for charity. So a huge, huge well done to each and every person. And as we all know, that money gets spread between hundreds and hundreds of local community charities as well as the national ones. Now, today, proof of keenness of members to raise money for charity, we have a member in here tonight, or today, this afternoon, that is wearing the wig that he wore last night for his fancy dress. And this is Jimbo from Wiltshire. Jimbo, stand up. I know you're going to hate me, you're going to kill me later, but Jimbo last night came up to me and said, Claire, I will wear this wig tomorrow if you will donate between myself and others £100 to FCN. And that was because he feels that they've supported us a lot with Rural Plus as well as Young Minds, and it's something that he is passionate about. And I said, Jimbo, the £100 is done as long as you wear the wig. And we have proof, so well done. Thank you very much. Just in case some of you thought he was actually wearing it just to hide something else. Okay, now, Rural Plus, I just want to say a massive thank you. It was inspired by a personal experience of mine, and I wanted to just get people talking, and I am still speechless to this day over how many members say that they've been touched by Rural Plus. Rural Plus has helped them. It's enabled them to open up more, and I've been thanked so many times for just putting the topic out there that, I don't know, it was one of those that when it was launched, it was going to go one way or the other, and I'm so glad that it was embraced by the organisation because I think it's so important, and I hope that it continues. I know Hannah is continuing the theme through with family this year, and Rural Plus will be part of that. So thank you for everybody that's done something towards that. And I know that Young Minds and FCN as charities in particular are very grateful for your support and integration within their charities as well. Thank you, Matt, as well, for being here all weekend representing FCN. I think you've had a good time? Brilliant. Okay, lastly, I can't say how privileged I am to have worked with a phenomenal team. And I hope that's come through today in the way that they've presented their presentations. Because they have been the best team to work with. They've been so proactive. They have never said, oh, we've got to do something else. They've always been such good fun, and I think that came through in the presentations today in the fact that there was a lot of laughter and a lot of fun. So again, thank you to you. Thank you to absolutely everybody within this organisation. Now, some other people that don't normally get thank yous. Mum and Dad are actually here today for the first time. And I want to thank them and my sisters for putting up with me being away an awful lot of weekends. I think last year I was away more weekends than I was actually at home. So I can assure you now that that will hopefully change, and I might be around a little bit more and make birthday parties that I had to miss last year. But thank you for your support throughout all of it. Also to friends, my club, all of the counties, in particular Cornwall. It's the best one. To all the areas, I managed to make every single area meeting, and you guys are incredible with what you do at an area level. Keep it going. It will only get stronger. And in particular, Southwest area, you guys gave me a lot of support, and you've always been there whenever I've needed something. And finally, Paul as president, Frank as Board of Management chairman, and all of the council members and the NFYFC staff. You have gone above and beyond all year, and I'm very grateful, and I know that the steering group chairman all are as well. Finally, I just want to say, Hannah, thank you for all your support, because you've not only supported me through these 3 years, but you also supported me when we were comps as well. And I wish you all the best, and you and your officer team for the future. You will do an amazing job, and your officer team are fantastic. So with that, I propose the adoption of the annual report 2014 as printed.
Mr. President, honoured guests, fellow young farmers, it gives me absolute pleasure to second the annual report that's been presented to you today. You do not need me to re-emphasise the amount that has been achieved by such a committed team of officers over the past year. You have been brilliant, and you have achieved so much. It would be remiss of me not to say a few words about Claire. Claire said that we have worked together for a very, very long time, and it's quite strange without you. But Claire is unique. There have been lots of news reports in the last few days about Tony McCoy and Paula Radcliffe, both really well-known, dedicated professionals who are retiring. And I think that there are parallels that can be drawn. Claire hasn't broken as many bones as Tony McCoy, and I can assure you she doesn't get up as early in the morning as Paula Radcliffe, but she does have a passion, a drive, and an enthusiasm, and that has come through not just this year, but in the 2 years that she was Vice Chair, encompassing as well a year of National Competitions Chair. Claire absolutely has had the members at the heart of everything that she has done. And one of the things that I believe that NFYFC has done over the past 12 to 18 months is to really bring what we do back to the membership. Claire was adamant that there was going to be greater transparency, and I have been sat with Claire on many occasions, often behind closed doors, where she has absolutely insisted on that for your benefit. And I hope that you feel that as an officer team and as an organisation, that we give you the answers that you want. And if you don't feel that, then you need to keep coming back and telling us, because that is something that we firmly believe is important. I know that Rural Plus was an incredibly successful campaign. It was something that was very, very close to Claire's heart, and I'm really proud to be able to continue some of that work this year. I think I've seen Claire probably more than all of her family members put together over the last 3 years. She has done a huge amount of mileage. She's been at everything. She does crazy things. She accepts invitations in different parts of the country and doesn't think twice. And James and I several times have raised eyebrows, and she just ignores it. Every chair, when they take over, hopes to leave the organisation in a better place than when they took it on. Claire, I absolutely, firmly, 100% believe that NFYFC is much stronger for you being chair. Well done, and it gives me great pleasure to second the annual report.
What a phenomenal year from everybody. Well done, Claire, on what has been. Are you going emotional as well, are we? Right, okay. Be proud of it. Really proud of that year. Does anybody wish to speak to that motion from the floor? In which case, please, can I have a show of cards in favour of adopting the annual report? Thank you very much. Anybody against? Anybody, any abstentions? No. Therefore, the annual report, Claire, is adopted. And thank you very much for that. Right, we move on now to agenda item number 8, which is a motion from the Northamptonshire Federation of Young Farmers Clubs, which is on the screen behind me. And I invite Nick Strelchuk and Grace Milbank from the Northamptonshire Federation of Young Farmers to propose this motion.
Thank you, Mr. President and Madam Chairman. Thank you very much, fellow young farmers, as well. On behalf of Northampton Young Farmers, I propose that we increase the membership age, or the upper limit, up to 30 years, as in the AGM in front of you. For those of you who don't know me, and some of you may know me as Star Trek instead, as quite a complicated Polish surname, but for those who don't, I grew up in rural Herefordshire. I became a member of Ledbury Young Farmers at the age of 16. I've seen firsthand the greatness of young farmers and the benefits that we all get, along with many people in the room today as well. Moving around the county with my job and also university before that, I've also been witness to all shapes and sizes of young farmers clubs, including Oxfordshire, Gloucestershire, Bedfordshire, and currently Northamptonshire. Hopefully you all saw the report that's been circulated was last week, and which contains more information than what we actually have time to talk about today. We knew this motion would actually cause quite a stir across the country, and I'd firstly like to thank those individuals and counties that have actually shown their support for the motion so far. I'd also like to thank the Cumbria and their chairman, Mark, actually for producing the other report as well, just against the motion, as I'm a firm believer that an informed debate is actually a good debate. So thank you very much, Mark. I personally have taken so much out of young farmers, but I'm still shaking like mad, and wouldn't be brave enough to stand here today and speak to you all if it wasn't for the public speaking, the stock judging, and many more competitions. In the last 12 years, I've been an active member. It is clear that the young farmers' draw has changed. We're now attracting a different demographic to the organisation, and for my club, Oundle, and County Northamptonshire, our members split is more than just farmers. We have students, graduates, land agents, we have agronomists like myself, we've got mechanics, auctioneers, masons, builders, and many more careers outside of agriculture. And this has meant that we've had to change as a club and a county ourselves. The majority of activities are still rural and farming based, but we have started to make changes. We as a club used to close down for harvest, and we used to stay in touch and have the odd drink now and then just to make sure everybody was still together. But since the large change in our demographic, we've actually started opening throughout harvest as well, because we still get a turnout of 30 members regardless of what the weather's doing. Our members aged between 25 and 30 are vital in the training and encouragement for all new and current members. At no point by increasing this age do we feel that this will affect the organisation as it's run at the moment. It can only make it better. Even at the young age of 28, and I did get ID'd for a lottery ticket the other day, I'm still learning the new skills and benefiting hugely from meeting new people and developing friendships in an area that I only moved to 2 years ago. And I'm sure there's a lot of you in the room that have moved around the country as well, and the first thing you do is you bring up young farmers and find out where your local club is. I've done it 4 times, and it's always worked fantastically for me. I try to give back as much as I can, and I know other senior members try to do the same. But at 26, we as a county lose on average 16% of our seniors due just to their age, the majority of which don't stay on as associates and advisory, and the increase would encourage these members to stay on and help run the clubs, which every year seems to get harder and harder. The new modern young farmer is living longer, studying for longer, especially if you're a 4-year university course now. They're travelling more, relocating, and waiting longer to be involved in the family farm. And also, the average age of married young farmers, as we've heard tonight, it is a dating agency as well. A lot of them now aren't getting married until their 30s. The skills we develop as young farmers and at young farmers should be continued far into our late 20s. There is a 30-year gap between the average young farmer's age and the average farmer discussion group age, which I'm sure if you've been to it, it is normally old farmers discussing tractors and how it used to be in their day. The current age bands were set up back in the 1930s. I know there were slight tweaks, especially with the lowering from the 14 years down to 10 years. We have had 4 more wars, we've had no end of different governments, world disasters, we've had devastation in agriculture. And I'm pretty sure that no one in this room can surely say that nothing has changed. The lives we now lead are so different to back then, and we feel that as a national organisation, we need this change to be introduced. By increasing the age to 30, it would bring us in line with our other youth organisations, such as in Scotland, Southern Ireland, Switzerland, and Eastern Europe, just to name a few, which there's a longer list in the report that was sent round. Back in the mid-80s, National reviewed their position and the organisation's relevance. And we feel that 30 years on, we need to do it again, just to make sure that we're still going with the right direction. We as members in Northamptonshire feel that we need this change to protect the future of our members and our clubs, And we want to ensure that the next generation have strong young farmers clubs to be part of and allow them to develop the same skills that we all in this room have the benefit of. We want to ensure the best for the smaller clubs in the counties which aren't fortunate enough to have 10 plus clubs or an average of 50 plus members. And it can easily become, well, we can easily become complacent with the way that we are, but we must do what is right for all and not just the larger clubs. But in the interest of time and lunchtime, and I'm sure there's going to be a few of you that have a few words to add to this as well, I'd just like to say thank you very much for listening, and I ask for you to join me in voting in favour for the motion. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow members. I am here this afternoon to second the motion that member clubs of the National Federation of Young Farmers Clubs be instructed to amend Clause 5.3 of their Standard Rules and Constitution of Open Clubs. There are three fundamental reasons why I believe we should raise the senior age limit to 30. Firstly, rural communities, along with the wider population, have seen a massive change in the past 20 years because many more young people are now going off to university for both first degrees and master's degrees. In turn, this means that clubs such as mine, Frapston, often lose members aged 18 to 22, not forgetting that people may wait a year or two after college or sixth form before deciding to go to university. Often, by the time members return home, they are nearing the current upper age limit, and so it is harder for them to gain the experience required to undertake roles for county, area or national committees. By increasing the age to 30, it would allow more time for members to gain the experience required for progression through young farmers. Secondly, allowing members up to the age of 30 to compete in all national competitions would give clubs a wider pool of talent to draw upon, thus meaning high levels of participation, and I know this has been a particular issue in our county. Clearly, this would benefit the whole organisation as participation is key to the strength of the movement. Thirdly, through my own experience of young farmers, I have seen that generally it is the older members that are better at assisting new members to integrate into the club because they are more socially responsible. It is important to have these people there to encourage others to participate fully. Furthermore, it benefits all young people to learn how to mix with people older than themselves, which is a skill that is undeniably important in all aspects of life. This would be better achieved if the membership age was raised to 30, as although in some clubs ex-members remain actively involved, this is not always the case, as they often feel disengaged because of the 26 and out policy. If we want to encourage wider participation, we have to be more inclusive. Personally, I would like to have the time to be educated and to progress through all the levels at young farmers, and I feel that this can only be achieved through raising the upper age limit to 30. I urge all to vote to approve this motion.
Thank you very much, Nick and Grace. Now, is there anybody from the floor who wants to speak to this motion? Please give your name and county when you start speaking, and please stick to 2 minutes. And that's good. Get a queue going so we're not waiting around.
Mark Hurst, Cumbria YFC. Good afternoon, Mr. President, ladies, gentlemen, honoured guests and fellow young farmers. I'm here today as County Chairman of Cumbria to oppose Northamptonshire motion. I sent a report out to all counties of our members' thoughts and opinions on this motion, and today I want to summarise these three aspects. 1, the clue is in the name. Led by young people, for young people, young farmers clubs are for those between the age of 10 to 26. How can we justify the name young farmers if we increase the upper age to 30? We should be looking at retention of membership. As an organisation, we lose 30% of in-age members each year, and we also gain that same percentage. We want to look at more retention. 2, money matters. This year, government funding was available to projects that were organised by 10 to 20-year-olds. If we increase the upper age of young farmers, what's to say that these funding opportunities will be available in the future? Why should we remove these opportunities for promoting YFC to the wider community while also providing funding to grassroots members? If the age range is increased to 30, there's a real risk that Cumbria YFC could lose its core funding from Cumbria County Council. This funding is there to support young people of the county, and as such comes from budgets specifically ring-fenced. 3, a step too far. By the age of 26, we in Cumbria really do believe it is time to take on the responsibilities of adulthood and start supporting our YFC clubs and county federations. To coin a phrase, give back to YFC. The current associate membership category allows this perfectly. The possibility of a 20-year age gap for 10 to 30 begs the question what this message sends out to the wider community. The associated cost of such a restructure would also add additional financial strain at a time when national budgets are already being reduced. We hope that you will agree that this motion could change the whole structure, ethos and future of YFC and vote against this motion.
Simon Walgett, East Riding of Yorkshire. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to urge all those people that have turned up today with their minds made up that they're going to support this motion. I'd urge you to think about how it can jeopardise the movement as it is at the moment. For me, a young person turning up to their meeting, a club meeting, nervous as a young teenager, from that point to where all you are today, you develop skills, you develop how you have responsibility, the skills that you gain and everything else that goes along with it are invaluable to young people progressing through life. To extend the membership age up to 30 may detract from the ability for them young people to develop. As people have said with funding, there's limited resources and so on. For members in their late 20s to be taking YFC travel places that could go to younger members and develop is unfair in my eyes. I think once you get to the age of 26, you've gained from young farmers and it's your turn to then put back. Give advice, be club leaders, be on advisory, but don't jeopardise it for those who are young and those members who have yet to come. Now, I'd urge you to use your blue tickets today and vote against this motion. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Trevor Jones from Kent. I've been to too many meetings from clubs that are struggling with young members because older people won't let them get on with it. You need your young members to feel like it's their club, their decision, and they're not being put down. Well, not necessarily put down, but had their life made more difficult by more experienced people. I couldn't have done a lot of things I've done without the support of the associate members in my county, but their lack of voting rights meant that the mistakes I made, and I made many of them, don't get me wrong, were my mistakes. And I've grown more confident because of them, and more competent because of them, and I feel like I'm a more rounded individual because of the mistakes I made when I was younger. We are within 0.5% of all the trustees of all the charities in the England and Wales. 0.5% have trustees under the age of 24, and we are part of that 0.5%, which I'm incredibly proud of. We have the opportunities for our young people are second to none. You get to actually lead your federation as an under 26-year-old. You're not told, you can't do things with autonomy. You can go for it, and I'm absolutely proud of that. So I would like you to join with me in voting against this motion. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, Madam Chair, I shall keep this short. As a county chairman, member of council, of age member, I should be voting against this motion today. And I would urge all my fellow members to do so and vote in a manner that represents the grassroots members, which is without doubt the core of the Federation. And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Philip Miller, Lancashire Federation, County Chairman. Mr. President,
Madam Chair, ladies, gentlemen, honoured guests and fellow young farmers, on behalf of Lancashire Federation, I would urge you to oppose this motion on a number of issues. Firstly, we believe the fact that members move away to university isn't a reason to increase the age. Myself and our previous county chair, Jessica Townsend, have been away to several years at university. Myself, I studied at Bangor University in North Wales, making many new friends and joined in many clubs such as Rock Climbing and Zoological Society. Once I graduated, I returned home to Lancashire and once again became heavily involved in my club, Billsborough, taking on club chairman and then regional treasurer and county vice chairman, and recently taken on the role of county chairman. In Lancashire, we see many members travel to universities and then come back and continue to play a key role in their clubs and county, often taking on officer roles. We feel going away gives members a chance to explore and learn how other societies and youth groups work, bringing back invaluable knowledge and expertise when organising social events and competitions in young farmers. We also feel by the age of 26, most members are financially self-sustaining and have used the resources at county and national to start themselves on the career ladder. Many members continue in YFC after 26 to give back to their county and club in terms of help, knowledge and support. There is nothing to stop members who have come out of age to step into those officer roles should the opportunity arise, but to extend the age of members who will begin to drain the training, resources and other benefits open to members. This will come at a disadvantage to the membership as more pressure is put on county offices and the National Federation. And finally, I feel it's quite worrying that we received information to back up this motion only 3 days before we headed to Torquay. This has been an impossible task to try and get information out to members to have a fruitful debate on this motion. To vote fully in favour of a motion, information is required months in advance to give members time to form a well-balanced opinion. And therefore, I urge you to vote against this motion. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Nick, I think you have the opportunity to sum up.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Well, you're probably wondering what I'm about to say. I'm guessing by the response I've got a pretty good feeling of which way the vote's going to be going. But I would just like to take this opportunity just to respond and just to expand on some comments made earlier this morning about being self-sufficient and the whole funding issue about increasing the age up to 30. We as a county don't receive any council funding at all. We are completely self-sufficient. And that doesn't hinder us in any way in attracting members. We try extremely hard, but we still find it very difficult to get our members. I'd also just like to pick up on the point a moment. I think it might have been Simon or Trevor. Sorry, my note-taking wasn't as quick as you were speaking. But we always push our younger members and we encourage them to always do roles within club and county. At no point do we feel as associate members that we are taking places away from them. If you were to come to one of our committee meetings and our club meetings and walk in the room, you would see that a lot of it is older people, my age at 28 and older, that are trying to run a county. And we fear as such a small county and such a big organisation, for us this increase would be fantastic. You all have very valid points and I can see which way it's going, but as a small county, I hope that today you can appreciate that we are struggling with members, we are struggling with committee. This will probably hinder us. That's why we're here to say this. And as an organisation, I thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us and our issues that we have. And thank you very much. And I'm guessing I know which way it's going to go, but thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Nick. I'm going to try and see if we can get a decision with a show of cards. If we can't, we will have a count. So can I please ask all those in favour of the motion, please to raise them now. Okay, all those against? Oh, well, that's easy, isn't it? Yeah. You're happy with that? Yeah. Thank you. Any abstentions? That's still overwhelming. Yeah, okay. You happy with that, Joe? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. then the motion is defeated by a majority. There were a few abstentions and there were some against, but it was clearly a majority to defeat the motion. Can I just make a comment at this point? What that showed, I think, was you guys at your best. There was a really heartfelt, thought-through, carefully thought-through motion. It was well presented, and there were some equally well thought-through views against that, and extremely well presented at the lectern there. Congratulations on that. That shows enormous maturity. And although the motion was defeated, I think it's something that you will continue to think about over the coming years. So thank you very much for that, and congratulations. So now we go on to item 9. If it clicks up on the screen, it does. And Jessica Townsend and Sam Dilcock will propose and second that agenda item.
Mr. President, Madam Chairman, honoured guests and fellow young farmers. Jessica Townsend, Lancashire Federation, also having the pleasure of standing here today before you as Northern Area Chairman. I would like to propose the following motion, that there shall be no less than 3 and no more than 6 holding trustees of the NFYFC who shall be elected to serve a term of 3 years, after which they may be re-elected to serve a maximum of a further 2 terms only, with the finer details all being attached in the agenda here today. In plain English, and sorry it's not Welsh as well, our proposal here today is to ensure that there are a correct, adequate and sensible number of individuals representing us as a federation of members as our trustees. The motion also includes a proposal for the term of office as a trustee. I will now take the proposal in 2 parts. Firstly, the number of trustees, and then the term of their office. The number of trustees at present in the Constitution states that there shall be not less than 3 trustees. Part of our proposal here today is to maintain this, but also expand this to include that there should be no more than 6 trustees. According to the Charity Commission, charity trustees are the people who serve on the governing board of a charity. Trustees have and must accept ultimate responsibility for directing the affairs of a charity and ensuring that it's solvent, well run, and delivering the charitable outcomes for the benefit of the public and members. A position in office, such as a trustee, comes with many responsibilities, and one that requires well-informed, active, and motivated individuals with the required knowledge and experience to ensure that the requirements are being fulfilled. We believe that the proposal of between 3 and 6 is an ideal number of individuals to represent us as our trustees. The knowledge base that can be held between a group of this size shall be adequate to holding the correct discussions whilst making the right decisions for our federation, and ensuring that the logistics of a large group of people coming together and holding discussions is not compromised by great numbers. Now to look at the second point of the motion here this morning, the term of office. The proposal here states that the trustees of NFYFC shall be elected to serve a term of 3 years, after which they may be re-elected for a further maximum of 2 terms only. Should this motion be supported here this afternoon, we shall allow the creation of a rolling committee, allowing knowledge and experience to be passed on from old to new members on the trustees committee. The motion comes with an aim to ensure that there is continuity within our trustees, that there shall be continuing appointments, and that to the committee to ensure that the knowledge and experience that we require amongst these individuals is passed from one to the next. The proposal shall allow individuals to serve up to a maximum term of 9 years as 3 terms of 3 years, should they be successfully voted in at the end of each term. We feel the proposed maximum term of 9 years as a trustee is a healthy length of time for an individual to maintain enthusiasm, integrity, and reliability for us as a federation. I therefore urge you, members, to support this motion here today. Thank you.
morning, Mr. President, Madam Chair, and my fellow members. I stand here with pride to second the motion that Jess Townsend has proposed to you, that trustees shall be no less than 3, no more than 6, and that they will not hold any more than 3 terms or 9 years in office. The National Federation of Young Farmers Clubs has been a fantastic organisation in the past, and as members, we wish for this to continue. This motion allows a clear structure for trustees in the coming decades, as trustees will not be around forever. It creates clear guidelines for members to nominate and vote within when adding or substituting trustees. Our trustees are inspiring and accomplished young farmers and business people. However, many of our former chair people have knowledge and skills to contribute to this group of people for the greater good of this federation. This motion should also reiterate to members there is a ladder to climb. There are roles to undertake after national chairman and other officer roles, and there is a darn good reason for everybody here to give the NFYFC everything they can to keep us moving in the best direction for the future. If you want a grassroots-up organisation, then you must build it. No longer will we assume that management is all going to be in order. No longer will we assume somebody else will take care of things and make everything all right. We are all responsible for the decision-making process of this organisation, as are our trustees, and the buck stops there. You all have a voice, so use it. Do you understand the motion that's being put before you? I said, do you understand the motion that's being put before you? Good. Are you going to take responsibility for the running of this federation? Are you going to spread the word to other members and get them to take responsibility for this federation? And do you want this federation to continue developing and prosper? Right. You don't need eyes to see, you need vision. Thank you very much.
That reminded me of the pantomimes yesterday. Thank you very much for that. Does anybody wish to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies, gentlemen, fellow young farmers, I urge you to vote against this motion. When first reading upon it, you look and it seems quite simple to switch one after the other. But I ask you, look at county federations, look at other charities. They have lifelong trustees that allows knowledge and expertise to be passed through. This is extremely poignant for us in Devon at the moment. We have recently obtained a new headquarters and we are selling our leasehold in the middle of Exeter. Now, there is details. There is legal terms that were created when this building was built in 1970, which still plays a big part today. And we are so thankful that we have the same trustees following this all the way through. It is their expertise, their knowledge of the whole thing that makes it all work. We've also seen recently at council meetings, by sitting on the council, I've heard from our accountant to say that we have given the trustees our support and allowance for them to go forward and to invest some of our money, to which we have a substantial return. So I think, in fact, we must congratulate the current trustees for all that they have done and continue to do. Also, it is a legal position. A holding trustee, as was mentioned earlier by Jess, is a holding trustee of our assets. Now, to cap a time when they will be able to hold that position really distresses me. I feel that some legal terms take far longer than 3, 6, or 9 years. So, to be blunt, we're not in the best financial position at the moment. And if we were then to have changing rolling trustees, I really do fear for the future of the Federation. And I hope that you will join with me and vote against this motion. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Jess, do you want to say a few concluding remarks?
Thank you, Mr. President. I will keep these brief. I'm conscious of the time. But thank you to both Sam and Caroline for the second and also the response there. Caroline mentioned just briefly then that within your county, they've got lifelong holding trustees. I do appreciate that they will maintain the knowledge themselves, but without sounding morbid, an end is inevitable. What we want to create here is to have a board of trustees where there is the ability to pass knowledge from one to the next, and as I said earlier, to maintain the motivation within this group of people. Each county in error will have a different method of having their trustees for a length of time. Within Lancashire and within the Northern area, we do have a specific timescale for our trustees, so we can allow this information to be passed on from one to the next and maintain the momentum within the trustees. I just want to urge you, please, to vote in favour of this motion to ensure that the information is being passed from one to the next and not, unfortunately, being lost. Thank you.
Okay, decision time then. Can I ask, please, for a show of cards in favour of the motion? Please raise them now. Okay, thank you. Against? Yeah. Abstentions? What do you think? Yeah, that's carried, isn't it? Are you happy that's carried, Chairman? Sure? Yeah, okay. Then the motion is carried by a majority. Thank you very much indeed, and I reiterate the remarks I made earlier on. That showed real passion. Thank you. And now we move on to item 10, which is really the celebratory bit. And I'm going to ask the inimitable David Hamer and his sidekick Mark Kerr to put this lot into motion.
Thank you. Just before I announce the winners of the awards, please can all the winners remain at the end, both for pictures and, very importantly, to sign the book to say you've got the trophy, so you'll definitely bring it back. Now on with the much-awaited announcement of the results. The Top Trainers Award. It's awarded to Derbyshire Federation of Young Farmers. Could I ask Helen Yates to come up and receive that award? Thank you. The NFU Trophy for the Champion County Federation in National Competition Finals for 2014-2015. Awarded to the Cumbria Federation of Young Farmers. Received by one and only Mark Kerr. The Tug Wilson Trophy for the Reserve Champion County Federation in National Competitions Finals 2014-15, and that goes to Devon. Can I ask for Caroline Trude. The Worshipful Company of Farmers Trophy. This is for the Champion Small County Federation for the National Federation of Young Farmers Competition Finals 2013-14. This is whose membership figures are amongst the lowest 50% of all the counties. And this once again goes to Derbyshire. The Merrick Burrell Tankard. Awarded to the County Federation with the largest percentage increase in membership over the past 3 years, With an astounding increase of 39.39%, the winners are Northumberland. And I think, is Giorgio still here? Yeah, Giorgio. The Prince of Wales Trophy. This trophy has been kindly donated by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. The aim of the competition is to highlight the work carried out throughout the organisation in raising funds for charities and other worthy causes. The trophy is awarded to the county federation that has raised the most funds per member in the year. This year's total amount raised from 18 county entries is £407,319.83. As Claire mentioned earlier on, the law of averages tells us that if every county federation returned the details of the charity fundraising efforts, this could well be well in excess of £1.2 million. In third place, we have the Devon Federation. In second place, we have the Essex Federation. And in first place, the Cornwall Federation. They raised an astonishing £65.88 per member, raising a grand total of £49,803.58. And we now have a slideshow. All right. The Lionel J. Hill MBE NFYFC Club Charity Cup, to be presented by Lionel Hill himself. This is presented to the club which has raised the most funds in 2013-14. The winners are Wareham and Purbeck YFC from Dorset County. This club has raised an astonishing £8,700 and a total of £300 per member. Astonishing. Well done. And finally, I'd like to invite Julian Sayers and Catherine Luck to say a few words about the winner of the next trophy, which is, of course, the Sidney Fawcett Trophy, awarded to the YFC member defined as a member aged between 10 and 26 years of age, making the greatest contribution to the democratic proceedings of the NFYFC Annual General Meeting.
Timing is everything, ladies and gentlemen. Can I just say, Catherine and I have really enjoyed being here once again at the annual general meeting. And as chairman of trustees, can I say that I am alive and kicking at the moment? But I fully endorse the way in which you debated that particular motion and the decision which you've reached. I think the rotation of trustees will be a very good idea. I certainly had no intention of staying until I was 90. What we've heard today from each and every person who stood here at this podium is a very clear delivery. There was nobody stumbling and mumbling. Everybody knew exactly what they were going to say, and we could hear every word you spoke. And that shows so much about young farmers and your ability to public speak. We've heard passion, and we've heard humour. And we've also heard from speakers of all ages, some, of course, who are not eligible for this particular award, but Eric, thank you very much indeed. Wonderful, wonderful delivery. And Adrian, the use of props, I mean superb, really was. So, young farmers, you can learn from those who've gone before you, and you also set an example for those who will follow in your footsteps. So congratulations to all of you. We've thoroughly enjoyed judging this particular competition. I now hand over to my fellow judge, Catherine, to announce the winner.
Mr President, guests and in particular young farmers, we have enjoyed the debates this morning and it has been a true young farmers democracy. From the top to the bottom, you'll all be familiar in clubs and counties with democracy in action, and this is where you see the final results. The debates have been good, informative, prepared and passionate, and this year we present the Sidney Fawcett Trophy to Trevor Jones from Kent.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. That is a culmination of a huge amount of endeavour by everybody today, and thank you too for doing the judging, which is not easy, let me say, but thank you for that anyway. Can I now go on to agenda item 11 and ask Jessica Townsend to give a vote of thanks? Where are you? She's gone.
Mr President, honoured guests, fellow young farmers and friends, I will keep this brief because there have been a lot of thank yous throughout this morning, so hopefully I'll cover everyone with this. I'd just like to start by thanking all those who've attended here today and allowing not only this annual general meeting, but the whole convention run so smoothly. The event of this weekend showcases what we young farmers do so brilliantly: compete, support and socialise with each other. I had the pleasure yesterday of competing in the Senior Member of the Year while supporting those taking part in the pantomime. We, as a federation, have demonstrated our diverse range of competitions this weekend and over the past year. Our passion for agriculture and rural issues in yesterday's Agri-Forum, our democracy displayed here this morning, and our socialising skills, which we all do those so brilliantly. So congratulations to everyone who's taken part. I would like to thank the staff here at the Riviera Centre and also the Princess Theatre who have worked tirelessly over the past few months and this weekend to coordinate our activities, as well as our volunteer staff and those on the events and the competitions committees who's helped pull everything together for the weekend. I'm sure none of us underestimate the hard work, the commitment, the sleepless nights that's put in by our staff and headed up by James, and it simply wouldn't be possible, so I'd like to thank all of those involved. I also can't get away without thanking Bob Blizzard for helping so much for this weekend. I'd like to thank our outgoing officer team who we've heard from this morning, to Claire, Sean Ed, Nicola, David and Russ, and thank you very much for your drive, enthusiasm, commitment and passion for the Federation for the past year. I'd like to reiterate all the thanks that have been given to Paul for doing such a fantastic job as President, and we also must reiterate our thanks to Mrs Christiansen for her patience and support that she offers to the Federation. For the hard work that's been done by Frank and Julia and the rest of the Board of Management to help steer us in the right direction through these tough times. I would like to extend my thanks to all the sponsors for the weekend. To mention a few, Massey Ferguson for being our headline sponsors over the weekend, to Nat West for sponsoring the AGM booklets, and to Jacqueline Dobson from Devon YFC for the flower arrangements here today. Finally, I'd like to thank the members and retell my thanks for everything you have done this weekend, for the passion you have shown in everything that you do. Congratulations to all of those who've competed over the weekend, and good luck to those involved in the jump rope and commercial dance later on this afternoon. We sincerely hope that you've all had an enjoyable weekend and continue to do so. Thank you.
It only leaves me now to draw the proceedings to a close, and I have the mallet ready in my hand. It looks as though it's only ever been used 3 times before, so I shall try and make a mark on that bit of wood. A couple of announcements. Would all those prize winners, cup winners, please return to the table to sign for them and to have some more photographs taken, if you would do that, please. Sandra has asked me to say that those who have been invited for lunch, it's upstairs somewhere, up there. I'm sure you'll find it. If you're that hungry, you certainly will. I think today has been an outstanding annual general meeting. I'm sorry it maybe have gone on a little bit longer than I had hoped, but it has been, I think, a really good endorsement for what the NFYFC is all about. I really congratulate you on that. You have showed a determination to stand on your own 2 feet. You are not going to be part of any dependency culture, and I think that's hugely encouraging. And when you go out on top of all that and raise £1.3 million for charity, and as was said, it just gets lost, that figure, but that's a phenomenal figure, and I congratulate you all on that. And so now all it requires me to do is at 1:38 to say, I'll see you in Blackpool next year, and I declare the meeting closed.